The class Belle said that drawing a smiley face on the college entrance exam paper could earn extra points. Before the college entrance exam, the class Belle claimed that drawing a smiley face on the edge of the answer area for each major question could put the examiner in a good mood and earn an extra 2 points for a good impression. Grading papers is so boring. After going through thousands of papers, when the examiner suddenly sees a smiley face, they'll definitely smile, loosen up a bit, and the points will come rolling in. She stood on the podium, holding a pink ballpoint pen, smiling innocently. Our class has such great chemistry, let's draw them together and earn points together, so no one gets left behind. The whole class erupted. Wow, she knows psychological tactics like that. Yeah, I saw online before. One candidate drew a sun at the end of their essay and actually got an extra 3 points. Then if we draw smiley faces, we should at least get 2 more points. Right, add that up for the whole class, and it's over 80 points. Our total average score will skyrocket. I sat in the third row, looking at Zhou Qian's delicate and innocent face, and felt a wave of nausea in my stomach. In my past life, I stood up and objected on the spot, saying that the college entrance exam grading was blind, and any marks on the paper could be deemed cheating. I went to the academic affairs office to report it, and the dean called an emergency meeting that night, strictly forbidding anyone from making extra marks on the answer sheets. The whole class obediently complied, and no one drew a smiley face. Only Zhou Qian, taking advantage of the invigilator's inattention, drew a small smiley face on her Chinese essay. In the end, she was penalized for intentional marking as cheating, receiving a 0 on the Chinese essay. Zhou Qian's total score dropped from the expected 630 to 580, shattering her dream of attending a top university. On the day of score inquiry, she ran out crying and was hit by a truck running a red light. She didn't die, but both her legs were amputated. The whole class blamed me for her accident. If you hadn't reported it, Zhou Qian wouldn't have been punished, wouldn't have been so distraught, and wouldn't have had the accident. You're just jealous that Zhou Qian is more likable than you. You wanted to ruin her, and you succeeded. On the day of the graduation party, they cornered me on the school rooftop. Several people grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the railing. Once, twice, 3 times, the back of my head hit the sharp corner of the concrete railing, warm blood trickling down my neck. Since Zhou Qian lost her legs, you're not walking out of this school standing either. I fell from the 6th floor. They turned and left without a single glance downward. The forensic examiner ruled it a suicide, and no one was held accountable. My mother fainted from crying at the funeral home, and my father's hair turned white overnight. 3 years later, they passed away from illness, and no one ever visited their graves. When I opened my eyes again, Zhou Qian was shoving that pink ballpoint pen into my hand. Suyi, you draw one too? I can draw it for you if you want. I promise it'll be super cute. She smiled without a hint of wariness, her 2 dimples deepening. I looked at her, my nails digging into my palm, the sting forcing back the tears. Alright, thank you, Suyi. Suyi, what are you thinking about? Zhou Qian waved her hand in front of my face. Oh, nothing. I just think you're amazing. You can even think of details like this. Zhou Qian pursed her lips into a smile, lowered her head, and drew a smiley face on the back of my hand. Then she handed me the pen. You try it too. It's really simple. First, draw a circle, then add 2 curved eyes, and finally draw an upward curving mouth. I took the pen and drew a smiley face on the back of her hand. See, not bad, right? Zhou Qian looked down at the crooked smiley face on her hand and burst out laughing. Is that a smiley face or a crooked-mouthed warrior? The people around us laughed too, and the atmosphere felt as pleasant as a spring outing. Zhou Qian transferred to our school in the 2nd semester of sophomore year. Her father was the director of the city's largest private hospital, and her mother was a TV host. Her family was wealthy and influential, and she was beautiful, spoke softly, and had 2 dimples when she smiled. A girl like this coming to our county high school was practically a crushing blow. Within a month, the entire class had become her fan club. She wasn't just good-looking, she was also thoughtful. She gave everyone mooncakes for Mid-Autumn Festival, bought bubble tea for everyone on the winter solstice, and after every monthly exam, she would spend her own money to buy small gifts for the students who had improved the most. No one disliked her, including me. In my past life, I genuinely considered her a friend, which was why when she said, "Draw a smiley face for extra points," I was the first to stand up and oppose it. I thought my opposition was saving her. In the end, I ended up saving myself to death. In this life, I won't be doing anything that foolish again. Teacher Go, the homeroom teacher, passed by the corridor and glanced inside. Zhou Qian raised the pink ballpoint pen in her hand. Teacher Gu, we're discussing how to adjust our mindset. Teacher Gu smiled. All right, just don't be too nervous. Then she walked away. She didn't dare to confront Zhou Qian because Zhou Qian's father had just donated a multimedia classroom to the school. There was even a bronze plaque on the wall engraved with, donated by the Zhou Medical Group. Who would want to offend a benefactor? In my previous life, after I reported it, Teacher Gu was called in for a talk by Zhou Qian's father. When she came back, her face was ashen. She pointed at me and scolded, meddler, and then never spoke a word to me again. Looking back now, it was really unnecessary. Song Yan was a neighbor I've known since elementary school. We grew up together, passed the entrance exam to this high school at the same time, and were placed in the same class. He's tall, good at basketball, has above-average grades, and is well-liked. In my previous life, after I reported Zhou Qian, he was the first to call me a traitor in the class group chat. On the day of the graduation party, he was the one who suggested going to the rooftop. He said we should find a quiet place to talk instead of making a ruckus in the private room. Then, while a few people were laying their hands on me, he stood by, hands in his pockets, watching expressionlessly as I fell from the 6th floor. I later heard from classmates that he cried at my funeral. After crying, he posted on his social media, "Suyi was a good girl. It's a pity she couldn't handle the pressure and had a breakdown." He washed his hands clean of it all. This time, he sat to my left, practicing drawing smiley faces on scratch paper with Zhou Qian's pink ballpoint pen. "Suyi, does this look like me?" He pushed the scratch paper over, and on it was a row of crooked smiley faces. "It does. Then I can rest assured. I'll draw one on each major question. Maybe I can get an extra 10 points. He beamed with a radiant smile. I laughed too. Zhou Qian turned, drawing smiley faces, into a ritual. The next afternoon during self-study, she stood at the podium and drew a big smiley face on the blackboard with chalk. "My darlings, today we're having a smiley face practice session." She pulled out over 40 sheets of printed paper from her bag, each with a blank answer sheet template, one for each person. "Draw a smiley face on it, and I'll collect them all for review afterward." Lin Yiming was the first to raise his hand. "Zhou Qian, how many should we draw?" Zhou Qian thought for a moment. "One for each major question. For the Chinese essay, you can draw 2, one at the beginning and one at the end, to leave a double good impression on the grader." The whole class began to bury their heads in drawing smiley faces. Some drew them round and full, some scribbled them hastily, and some even added a line like, "Thank you, teacher," beside their drawings. Zhou Qian walked down from the podium, looking at each one like a strict art teacher. "Lin Yiming, your smiley face's mouth is too downward. That's a crying face, not a smiling one. Redraw it." "Song Yan, your smiley face's eyes are drawn as crosses. Do you want to scare the grading teacher to death?" "Song Yan, yours isn't bad, but the circle isn't round enough. Go practice." She walked up to me, looked down at my paper, and said, "Suyi, why did you only draw one?" I looked up and smiled. "I want to perfect this one first before drawing the others." Zhou Qian nodded, said nothing, and turned away. After that class ended, when Ru walked over to my seat and lowered his voice, saying, "Suyi, do you really think this is not a problem?" When Ru was the second-ranked student in the class, with consistent academic performance, an introverted personality, and no desire to stand out, he was also the only person in my past life who did not participate in pushing me off the rooftop, not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't attend the graduation party that day. "Do you think there's a problem?" I threw the question back at him, when Ru bit his lip and said, "I looked it up. The college entrance exam has regulations that prohibit making marks on the answer sheet. I'm afraid." Before he could finish his words, Lin Yiming walked over from behind and slung an arm around his shoulder. "Wenru, are you spreading anxiety here again?" Zhou Qian already said it's fine. "Do you not trust her?" Wenru's face turned red. "It's not that I don't trust her, I just wanted to make sure." "Make sure of what?" "That the whole class has drawn and you're the only one who hasn't. Then when everyone else gets extra points and you don't, you'll regret it too late." Wenru opened his mouth to speak, but in the end, he said nothing and lowered his head as he returned to his seat. I watched his back, recalling that in my past life, he scored 612 points and got into a decent 211 university. In this life, I don't know what will become of him, but I do know, if he follows along and draws that smiley face, his 612 points will turn into a pile of worthless paper. I didn't warn him. In my past life, I warned everyone. and I ended up dead. In this life, I only warned myself. Zhou Qian's smiley face plan grew bigger and bigger. A week before the college entrance exam, she had everyone dig out all their mock exam answer sheets, draw a smiley face on the edge of each major question, then collect them all, claiming she was making a commemorative album. When you all get into good universities later, flipping through this album and seeing those smiley faces from back then will surely feel so heartwarming. As she said this, her eyes were red, and her voice trembled slightly. I'm really going to miss you all so much. Several girls were moved to tears by her, and even the boys' eyes reddened as they patted their chests and said, Zhou Qian, don't worry, we'll do our best on the exam and won't let you down. I watched this scene from the sidelines, feeling that if Zhou Qian didn't go into acting, it would be a loss for the Chinese film and television industry. Of course, she was reluctant to part with everyone, reluctant to let go of the position where everyone doted on her. That day after school, Song Yen rode his bike and took me home. The setting sun stretched our shadows long, one in front and the other behind, like two people chasing each other. Suyi, what do you really think about Zhou Qian's smiling face incident? He suddenly asked me, sitting on the back seat. I looked at his back. In my past life, it was this back that stood motionless 3 meters away while someone pressed my head against the railing. What do you mean? I feel like something's off. His voice was intermittently carried away by the wind. I spent a long time searching online yesterday, and I couldn't find any official information saying that drawing smiley faces would earn extra points. Then why did you still draw one? Everyone else was drawing them. If I didn't, I'd look like I didn't fit in. He paused. Besides, Zhou Qian's dad is so rich and well-connected. Maybe what she said is actually true. I said nothing. Suyi, if you know something, just tell me. I stared at the back of his head, silent for a long time. I don't know, but, Song Yen, if someone told you to jump off a building, would you jump just because everyone else was doing it? He didn't answer. The bike entered the neighborhood, and he stopped at the bottom of my building. I jumped off and walked into the entrance without looking back. His voice came from behind me. Suyi, you've been acting really strange lately. Strange, to someone who has never died. Someone who has, of course, seems strange. 3 days before the college entrance exam, the school held its last broadcast assembly. The academic dean emphasized exam rules over the loudspeaker, one of which was, it is strictly forbidden to make any marks unrelated to the exam answers on the answer sheet. Violators will be penalized as cheaters. When this rule was read out, I turned to look at Zhou Qian. Her expression didn't change at all. She even smiled at me and said, this rule is aimed at people who want to write secret codes on their exam papers to cheat. The smiley faces we draw aren't codes. Besides, I asked my dad. He knows someone at the provincial exam board. As long as you're not deliberately writing codes, no one cares if you draw a smiley face. Those whose scores were cancelled were the ones who wrote things like, give me extra points. Teacher, she said this very loudly, and all the classmates around heard it. Lin Yiming immediately chimed in, exactly. Drawing smiley faces is psychological adjustment. It has nothing to do with cheating. Song Yen also followed up. Yeah, Zhou Qian is right. Everyone was nodding. No one felt that this rule applied to them, as if the regulation, no marking on the answer sheet, was written for someone else. When Roos sat in the corner, head down, I noticed his lips trembling slightly. He didn't say another word. The day before the college entrance exam, we went to check the exam venue. A notice board displayed candidate instructions, and the 4th item read, candidates must not write, fill in, or draw any text, symbols, or graphics unrelated to the exam content on the answer sheet. Violators will be penalized according to regulations, and their scores for that subject will be cancelled. I stood in front of the bulletin board and read that line 3 times. Zhou Qian walked up from behind me. Suyi, what are you looking at? I stepped aside and pointed at the rule. Zhou Qian glanced at it and chuckled. This kind of notice gets posted every year, but it's not strictly enforced in practice. Think about it. If they really disqualified everyone for drawing a smiley face, how many students across the country would lose their scores? She patted me on the shoulder, speaking with the confidence of a college entrance exam expert. Relax, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen. I watched her retreating figure and silently etched those words in my mind. Yeah, nothing's going to happen, it's just that I'll end up with no score. The night before the college entrance exam, my mom made a table full of dishes. Do your best tomorrow, don't be nervous. Your usual performance is solid, just play it normal. I picked up a piece of sweet and sour spare ribs and chewed it slowly. In my past life, my mom said the same thing. Later, she received a mangled, unrecognizable corpse. Mom, after the exam, I want to go see Beijing. Sure, after the exam, you can go anywhere you want, I'll go with you. I hummed in response and picked up another piece of spare ribs. After dinner, I went back to my room and checked my stationery 5 times, 2 2B pencils sharpened to just the right point, not too thick or too thin, 2 black gel pens, 1 as a backup, an eraser, a ruler, and a compass, all packed into a transparent file bag. Finally, I flipped the bag over and tucked another 2B pencil into the inner pocket, a backup for the backup. Then I took out the pink ballpoint pen that Zhou Qian had given me and drew a smiley face on a piece of scratch paper, round, with curved eyes and an upturned mouth. It looked really nice. I put it in the outermost layer of my pencil case. Tomorrow, when I enter the exam hall, I'll place it on the desk for everyone to see, then I'll pull out a black gel pen from the inner compartment and write question by question, without drawing a single smiley face. June 7th, the first day of the college entrance exam. At 7:30 in the morning, the entrance to the exam site was packed with people. Zhou Qian was wearing a bright red t-shirt with the words, Gold List Honors, printed in gold foil on the chest, and a red headband tied around her head. She stood on the flower bed at the school gate like a general heading into battle, holding up a small flag covered in smiley faces. Come on, everyone in our class, gather up. More than 40 classmates crowded around. One last reminder, draw a smiley face for each major question, place it in the bottom right corner outside the answer area, and make sure it's no bigger than 1 centimeter. If it's too big, it won't work. Also, don't use a red pen, black or blue is fine, red is too conspicuous. Most importantly, she raised a finger, her expression suddenly turning serious, you have to draw it with a smile. When you draw the smiley face, you need to be smiling inside too, so the energy can be transmitted. I stood at the outermost edge of the crowd, watching this earnest nonsense, and couldn't help but curl the corner of my mouth. Not because I found it funny, but because it felt absurd. In my past life, I tried desperately to stop them and was treated like an enemy. This time, I did nothing, and instead became the good friend who cooperates well. That's probably just human nature. When you warn them there's a pit ahead, they think you're a jinx. Suyi, what are you laughing at? Song Yen had somehow appeared beside me. Nothing, I just think Zhou Qian is quite cute. Song Yen glanced at me, as if about to say something, but in the end just nodded. The bell for entry rang. I was in the middle of the line, with Lin Yiming in front of me and Song Yen behind. Lin Yiming turned around and held up his transparent file folder for me to see. He had already sketched a few smiley faces on it with a pencil in advance. See, look, I'll just trace the template when the time comes. It'll look the best. Pretty good. I praised him. Lin Yiming turned back with satisfaction. In my past life, he was the one who grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the railing. Now in this life, he's smiling at me like a best friend. Song Yen gently tapped my backpack from behind. Suyi, are you really okay? I didn't turn around. I'm fine. During the security check, I handed my document pouch to the proctor. The teacher glanced at the stationery inside, where a pink ballpoint pen stood out prominently at the top. What kind of pen is this? It's just an ordinary ballpoint pen, a spare for writing, I said. The teacher frowned slightly but didn't say anything more, waving me in. Entering the exam room, I found my seat and sat down. My exam room was the second classroom on the east side of the 3rd floor, in the second to last row by the window. I laid out my 2B pencil, black gel pen, eraser, and ruler one by one, placing the pink ballpoint pen in the most conspicuous spot on the corner of the desk. Then I pulled the black gel pen from the inner compartment of my pencil case and made a stroke on the scratch paper. The tip glided smoothly, leaving a clear trace of ink. Perfect. 5 minutes before the exam began, the proctor read out the exam room rules, particularly emphasizing the rule, do not make any marks unrelated to the answers on the answer sheet, otherwise, it will be treated as a violation. I noticed a classmate from my grade in the back row. Lin Yiming frowned, but quickly regained his composure. After the proctor finished speaking, he added, in last year's college entrance exam, dozens of candidates across the province had their individual subject scores cancelled due to marks on their answer sheets. All candidates must take this seriously. These words fell like a stone thrown into still water. I could hear a faint stir in the exam room. Lin Yiming's face turned pale instantly. His hand reached for his pencil case, hesitated for a moment, then drew back. I looked at him, my heartbeat steady and calm. Would he skip drawing the smiley face, or would he take the gamble? At exactly 9 o'clock, the Chinese exam began. I first wrote down my name and exam registration number, then flipped the answer sheet to the first page. There was a small blank space in the lower right corner of the essay answer area. Exactly the best smiley face spot that Zhou Qian had mentioned. I stared at that blank space for 2 seconds, then turned to the next page and started working on the questions. Throughout the entire exam, I didn't draw anything extra on the answer sheet, not a single line, not a single d. It was completely clean. At 11:30, the exam ended. As I walked out of the testing room, Lin Yiming was holding up his transparent document bag in the hallway like a flag of victory. I drew them. I drew one for every major question. They're incredibly standard, like they were printed on. A few classmates gathered around to take a look, letting out sounds of admiration. Nice one, Brother Yiming. I saw your practice drafts yesterday. Your smiley faces look even better than Zhou Qian's. Of course, I practiced for a whole week. I noticed a hint of unease hidden beneath his smile. Perhaps the invigilator's words made him hesitate, but he still drew, because the whole class drew, because Zhou Qian couldn't be wrong, because he himself wouldn't be that unlucky. Song Yan walked out of the exam hall with a grim expression. Suyi, did you hear what the teacher said? Last year, dozens of people had their scores invalidated. I heard it. Then did you draw? I looked into his eyes. Guess. Song Yan froze, then gave a wry smile. I drew it, but I drew it very small. Should be fine, right? It should be fine. I patted Song Yan on the shoulder. He breathed a sigh of relief. In the afternoon math exam, the same routine. I placed the pink ballpoint pen on the desk and answered questions with a black pen. No smiley faces, no drawings of any kind. The next day, for English and the science comprehensive exam, I did the same. The 2 days of the college entrance exam passed without incident, but during the English test, I heard a commotion from the neighboring exam room. The invigilator's voice came faintly through the wall. Student, there are obvious graphic marks on your answer sheet. According to exam regulations, I have to report this. Then a girl's tearful voice. I just drew a smiley face. My classmates said it was okay. It doesn't matter who said it. Rules are rules. I lowered my head and continued with my reading comprehension, feeling no stir in my heart. That girl wasn't from my class. I didn't know her, but her life might be rewritten from today onward. All because of a smiley face. After the college entrance exam ended, Zhou Qian organized a graduation barbecue. They spread picnic mats on the lawn behind the school, set up 2 grills, and bought 5 cases of drinks. As the sun set, the red glow of the charcoal fire reflected on everyone's faces. Zhou Qian held up a skewer of grilled chicken wings, standing in the middle of the crowd, her voice a little choked. My darlings, the exam is over. No matter what the results are, our class will always be one family. Everyone must keep in touch. When the results come out, we'll celebrate together and go on a graduation trip. Cheers. Everyone raised their drink bottles and clinked them together, producing a crisp sound. I stood among the crowd, holding a bottle of iced tea, and clinked it as well. Cheers. The iced tea tasted sweet as it went down. Song Yan walked up to me with his drink. Suyi, did you draw the smiley face or not? No drawing. His expression became complicated, as if he was both relieved and betrayed. Why didn't you remind us? You wouldn't listen anyway, I said. At the broadcast meeting 3 days before the college entrance exam, the academic director said no marking was allowed. It was also written on the bulletin board. The proctor said it too. Who among you listened? You chose to believe Zhou Qian, and I respect your choice. I raised my iced black tea and gently clinked it against his cup. We each bear the consequences. Song Yan's face flickered in the glow of the charcoal fire. He said nothing more, turned around, and walked back to the crowd. In the days after the college entrance exam, time passed slowly. Every day, I stayed at home reading, binge-watching shows, and helping my mom with housework, just like any normal high school graduate, waiting for the day that would decide my fate. People were chatting in the class group chat every day. Some shared travel photos, some complained about driving school, and some posted anxious essays like, I dreamed last night that I only scored 300 points. Zhou Qian occasionally came out to lighten the mood, posting motivational quotes like, relax and trust in your hard work. No one brought up drawing the smiley faces again. It was as if that incident had passed and no longer mattered. Until June 23, the day before the results came out, a post appeared on the provincial city's parent forum. The title read, Shocking, mass answer sheet marking cheating detected in this year's college entrance exam. Multiple students had individual subject scores cancelled. The Post claimed that during the scanning of answer sheets this year, the provincial exam board identified a large number of abnormal marks, mostly various graphic symbols, which were preliminarily determined to be deliberate markings by students, leading to 0 scores for the relevant subjects. The Post did not name a specific school but mentioned a few key phrases: a certain county-level high school, multiple students from one class involved. The mark is a smiley face. The Post exploded in the class group chat at 11 p.m. Lin Yiming was the first to forward it, adding the caption, "Could this be about us?" The group fell silent for 30 seconds, then when Ru sent, "Our smiley faces won't actually be counted as cheating, will they?" Zhou Qian replied instantly, "How could that be? That post is obviously fake news. The provincial exam board hasn't even issued any announcement. Why are you all getting worked up over a single forum post?" Lin Yiming chimed in, "Right, Zhou Qian is right, I've seen plenty of posts like this. They're all rumors, don't scare yourselves." The group chat became lively again, with everyone chiming in, saying it must be fake, no need to worry, just wash up and go to bed. I also sent a message in the group, "Exactly, we're not the first to draw a smiley face. If something were going to happen, it would have happened already." Sent, turned off my phone, and went to sleep. That night, I slept better than I had in the past 3 years. June 24th, score release day. I woke up at 7 a.m. My mom was boiling dumplings in the kitchen, and my dad was sitting on the couch looking at his phone. Both of them were pretending to be calm, but I noticed my dad's phone screen had been stuck on the same page without scrolling. He was nervous too. At exactly 8 a.m., the score inquiry system opened. I entered my exam registration number, clicked search, and the page loaded for 2 seconds. Chinese 132, Math 145, English 140, Science Comprehensive 267, total score 684, ranked 62nd in the province. My mom walked in carrying a bowl of dumplings. When she saw the number on the screen, the bowl in her hands nearly slipped. This is your score." "Yeah." Tears streamed down my mom's face. She turned around and called out to the living room, "Honey, your daughter scored 684. My dad sprang up from the couch, his slippers on the wrong feet, rushed in to glance at the screen, then plopped down on my bed, covering his face as his shoulders shook. Watching him, my eyes welled up too. In my past life, he never got to see this day. Back then, what he saw at the funeral home was a mangled corpse, unrecognizable after falling from the 6th floor. "Dad, Mom, I want to go to Beijing. Let's go, to Peking University, to Tsinghua University, wherever our daughter wants to go, we'll go." My dad stood up, his voice trembling. I smiled but didn't say whether I'd choose Peking University or Tsinghua University. Instead, I picked up my phone. The class group chat was already in chaos, not the good news explosion kind, but a total meltdown. Lin Yiming sent a voice message, his voice sounding as if someone was squeezing his throat. "I got 0 on the science comprehensive exam. I drew smiley faces, 12 smiley faces all over the answer sheet. They said it was a cheating mark, so the entire science section was invalidated." He followed up with a text, "My total score is 312. I never scored below 600 in mock exams." In an instant, over 100 messages flooded the group. "I got 0 on English. They said I drew a smiley face on the back of the answer sheet, which counts as an intentional mark, so my English score was cancelled. My math score was reduced by 50%. They said the mark was serious but not malicious, so they gave a compromise, but I only got 73 on math. My total score is 289. I don't want to live anymore. Wait, where's Suyi? What did Suyi score? Didn't she draw too?" Someone suddenly had mentioned me. Before I could reply, when Ru posted first, "Suyi didn't draw," I was sitting behind her, and I saw that her answer sheet didn't have a single smiley face. The group chat fell silent for 3 seconds, then Lin Yiming sent a message, "Suyi, why didn't you draw? Did you already know something was going to happen?" After this message was sent, the group exploded again. "Right, Suyi, why didn't you draw? Weren't you the one who agreed so readily back then? Are you deliberately watching us make fools of ourselves? Suyi, say something." I stared at the constantly refreshing messages on the screen, slowly typing a few words. When the broadcast said not to make marks, you said it was aimed at cheating signals. When the notice board said not to make marks, you said the enforcement wouldn't be that strict. When the proctor read out the exam rules, You said you wouldn't be that unlucky. Whether to draw or not is my choice. Whether you draw or not is yours. I respect your choices, so please respect mine too. The group chat went silent again, then Lin Yiming sent a message. Suyi is right. It was our own choice, so we can't blame anyone else. But Lin Yiming wasn't letting it go. Then why didn't you warn us? If you had said something, we might not have drawn it. I typed my last line. When Ruse said it, did any of you listen? Sent it, left the group chat. I didn't look at those messages again. On the third day after the results came out, Zhou Qian's father came to the school. He drove his black Mercedes and parked directly under the principal's office building. He demanded that the school provide an explanation, claiming his daughter had been misled by incorrect information, and requested the provincial examination board to conduct a review. The principal received him with a courtesy befitting a visiting superior, but the outcome remained the same. The college entrance exam has its rules, and anyone who violates them must bear the consequences. Zhou Qian's father caused a commotion at the school all day, and was eventually politely escorted out of the school gate by several teachers. As he left, I saw his face turn pale. Before getting into the car, he looked back at the teaching building, his eyes full of resentment. Later, the people from the principal's office called me in for questioning. Suyi, why didn't you stop him at the time? I stood before the principal, my expression calm. Teacher, it's a basic rule that everyone knows. No markings are allowed on the exam paper during the college entrance exam. Everyone should consciously abide by the rules. The principal glanced at me and asked no further questions. As I walked out of the office, I ran into Zhou Qian's father in the hallway. He stared at me for a few seconds, then spoke. You're Suyi? Yes. What score did you get? 684. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he turned and walked away. I knew what he wanted to say. He wanted to say, if my daughter hadn't drawn, she could have scored just as much, but he couldn't say it, because whether or not she drew was her own choice, not something anyone forced on her. Zhou Qian didn't come to school. She locked herself at home for an entire week. Her last WeChat Moments post was sent on the day the results came out. I did so much, all for everyone, and in the end, everyone blames me. The comments below were all cursing her. You did it for everyone. You did it for yourself. You loved being idolized by everyone, loved being that authority. Didn't you say you should smile when drawing a smiley face? Can I smile now? Zhou Qian deleted that post and then blocked everyone. Song Yen scored 436 points. He drew a smiley face, lost 30 points in math, and received a 0 for his English essay. He didn't curse Zhou Qian in the group chat, nor did he curse me. He just sent me a long message one night. Suyi, the other day you asked me, if someone told you to jump off a building, would you follow just because everyone else was jumping? Now I know the answer. I would, because that's the kind of person I am. I don't blame you, and I don't blame Zhou Qian. I blame myself, for not having the courage to stop and think when everyone else was charging ahead. I stared at that message for a long time, then replied, Song Yen, retake the exam next year, don't draw a smiley face this time. He replied with a single word, okay. Then he added another message, Suyi, I'm sorry, I didn't respond. In early August, the admission results came out. I was admitted to the Chinese Department of Peking University, ranked 62nd in the province, with the cutoff for PKU being the top 80. My mother cried over the admission letter, and my father treated the entire office to a meal. The fate of the rest of my class. A sorrowful data report. Out of 42 students, 28 had individual subject scores cancelled, 12 had scores too low to apply for undergraduate programs, and 21 chose to retake the exam. Only I made it to a 985 university, and 2 barely scraped into a 211. Zhou Qian scored a total of 402, with a 0 on her Chinese essay. She didn't retake the exam. I heard her father sent her to a private international school, preparing to study abroad. Lin Yiming scored 391. He didn't message me or speak in the group chat, but I heard his mother took him to Zhou Qian's house to cause a scene. Your daughter ruined my daughter's life. Zhou Qian's father called the police. The two families, once as close as one, completely fell out. Lin Yiming scored a total of 312 points. With 0 in the science comprehensive exam, his father posted a message in the class group chat, with polite wording, but every word was dripping with blood. My son has always been a top student in the class, earning the title of merit student for 3 years. In one college entrance exam, because of a smiley face, all his hard work over a decade went to waste. I don't know who to blame. Perhaps we should blame ourselves for not checking the rules, but what I want to say is, If someone had stepped up and said, "This is against the rules," maybe everything would have been different. When this message was posted, no one in the group replied. It wasn't that they didn't want to, they didn't dare to. When Rue scored 518 points, he drew smiley faces, but they were very small, and he only drew 3. The invigilator didn't notice, but his mindset collapsed. After the first exam, he knew he might have done something wrong, and he was completely out of form for the remaining exams. 518 points was nearly 100 points lower than his mock exam scores. He sent me a message, "Sue Yi, why didn't you just tell me not to draw them back then? You only asked me, do you think there's a problem? Why didn't you just give me the answer directly?" I replied to him, "When Rue, you're already an adult, your answers shouldn't come from someone else's mouth." He didn't reply again. I don't know if he accepted that answer, but I know that from now on, he will remember one thing. Don't just follow along just because everyone else is doing it. In early September, I went to Beijing to report in. The day before I left, I received a WeChat message from an unfamiliar number. "Suyi, I'm Zhou Qian, can you tell me, did you know from the very beginning that drawing a smiley face would cause trouble?" I stared at this message for a long time. Outside the window, the moon was full, and the cicadas chirped in waves. I thought of my past life, her standing on the podium holding that pink ballpoint pen, smiling as she said, "Draw a smiley face and get 2 extra points," her saying in the group chat, "How is that possible?" The sound of the wind as I fell from the 6th floor. I typed a few words and sent them. "Zhou Qian, didn't you say you have to smile while drawing a smiley face? I'm smiling right now as I reply to you." She didn't reply again. I blocked her number and placed my phone on the bedside table. The day before the repeat school year began, Song Yen rode his bicycle to the downstairs of my apartment. He didn't come up, he just shouted from below, "Suyi, see you next year." I leaned out the window and saw him standing under the streetlight, giving me an okay sign. I waved at him, and then he rode away, his figure disappearing into the night. Next year, if he studies hard in his repeat year and stops drawing those smiley faces, he should be able to get into a decent university. But that's his path, not mine. My path lies in Beijing. Tomorrow I'm heading to Beijing, to the city I never had the chance to visit in my past life, to attend the university I never had the chance to attend, and to live the life I never finished living. To be alive means not to turn others' mistakes into your own coffin. I closed the window and drew the curtains. Tomorrow, a new beginning. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My boyfriend's childhood sweetheart was diagnosed with a terminal illness, the kind that turned out to be a misdiagnosis. So on the day my boyfriend proposed to me, she decided to go all out, confessing her love loudly in the name of affection, in front of everyone. He chased, she fled, she couldn't escape, and my heart shattered into pieces. Finally, she and he overcame all obstacles and achieved a happy ending. I was abandoned by all and forced to leave my homeland. After being reborn, I faced my friend's familiar accusations with a silent smile. The best way to defeat moral blackmail is to return it exactly as it was given. That's hilarious. Who can't find a friend with a terminal illness? I found an obscure male actor online for 100,000 a month, just to play the role of a terminally ill male friend. He agreed without hesitation. It's just a matter of closing your eyes and kicking the bucket. But on the agreed day, the other party said they had something to do and sent someone else instead. I didn't mind, as long as the ultimate goal is achieved. That's all that matters. Just as the elevator going down opened its doors, I hurriedly stepped inside and immediately noticed the tall young man in the corner. He stared expressionlessly at his phone, the light catching on his hair as if coating it in a beautiful glow. His features stunningly handsome, but his skin was a shade paler than normal, and his eyes held a weariness that was hard to ignore. He looked like a sickly beauty straight out of a manga. I sighed inwardly, afraid of offending anyone, and quickly averted my gaze, seeing that the person I had previously arranged with said the replacement was already in the elevator. I dialed the number he had given me. Suddenly, a phone rang behind me, startling me. Without thinking much, I answered with a "hello." Then I heard the young man's magnetic voice, which was exactly the same as the one that had come from the phone. "Hello, what a coincidence." I turned around in surprise, yet I saw the young man slowly curve his eyes at me, and in an instant, the previous distance and aloofness vanished completely. "Miss Jianghua." I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. I never expected that the replacement would be such a handsome guy, but thinking about meeting that despicable couple right away, I quickly told him what to do next. In short, it's all about being fake as you can be. I believe in your professionalism." The young man, Meng Ci, who had already introduced himself, had a smile in his eyes and said gently, "Yes, I guarantee to complete the task." Little did I know that when the elevator door opened, I had just taken a step when I accidentally twisted my ankle. Fortunately, Meng Ci was quick to react and caught me at the same time. A group of people outside the elevator watched as we embraced. "Hua, what are you doing here, and who is this?" Gu Chen, looking utterly shocked, stared at the tall Meng Ci and me in his arms. It seemed he had thought of something, as his face instantly darkened, wearing an expression of anger as if he had been betrayed. "Jiang Hua," the people nearby screamed. "I trusted you so much, even helped you get together with my brother, and yet you hooked up with someone else. How could you do this to my brother?" This conversation immediately caught the attention of others, their eyes lighting up instantly. "Oh wow, a girlfriend cheating scene. This is intense, something that should have been kept from the crowd." Gu Xiang still shouted it out loud. "Brother, you've done so much for her. Even held a proposal ceremony, yet she secretly came to the hospital to meet someone else, and they hugged. It's just too much." Others also started pointing fingers at me, as if they had personally witnessed me being intimate with someone else. But wait, didn't Meng Ci just help me up a little? How did everything become a done deal? Truly a master at turning white into black. I signaled Meng Ci to let go, glanced at Tong Ying in Gu Chen's arms, and spoke unhurriedly. "Xiao Xiang, you've misunderstood. Brother Ci and I are just good friends." I was about to fall, and he helped me. "Besides, Gu Chen is holding Tong Ying. Surely you can't say Gu Chen is cheating too, right?" As soon as the words fell, everyone finally noticed the quiet as a chicken Tong Ying in Gu Chen's arms. Gu Xiang retorted without a second thought, "Bullshit, they're just good friends." I nodded with a bright smile. "Exactly, Ci Gij and I are just good friends too." After thinking it over carefully, everyone felt that it actually made perfect sense. You have your good friends, and I have mine. It was just a helping hand, not a kiss. But at that moment, Tong Ying spoke softly. "Miss Jiang, I know you resent me for ruining your proposal ceremony with Brother Chen, and you even came to the hospital specifically to confront us. Don't worry, I'll leave right away. I won't be a bother to you." Faced with her fragile, delicate demeanor, Gu Chen looked at her with heartache, then turned an impatient gaze toward me. "I've already said Tong Tong isn't in good health. Why do you have to be so petty? Can't you just let her get through this time peacefully?" His words nearly made me laugh in disbelief. What shameless words, coming to the hospital to block you. How thick-skinned can they be? Meng Ci, standing nearby, was very quick on the uptake. He suddenly coughed a few times, drawing everyone's attention, then leaned gently against me. "My chest feels a bit tight. Let's hurry to find the doctor. He's probably been waiting anxiously." I thought to myself, out of sight, out of mind. After all, I'd already seen them, and there was no rush to get back at them right then, so I cooperatively supported him. "Let's go." Gu Chen, who had originally been worried about Tong Ying, watched me support Meng Ci as we left, his expression darkening. Gu Xiang frowned and questioned, "When did Jiang Hua make a new friend? And they're so close, could it really be a little lover?" Gu Chen didn't answer, just feeling a bit uncomfortable inside. Once we were sure we were out of those people's sight, Meng Ci straightened up on his own and smiled, seeking praise. "Miss Jiang, that person's face just now was completely black." I blinked and praised him. "Well done, but from now on, just call me Hua Hua. We don't want anyone catching us off guard." The smile in his eyes deepened. "Alright, so what's next?" Thinking of what that scumbag and that awful woman had done, the corner of my mouth twitched involuntarily. Of course, we press our advantage. Thinking back to the proposal ceremony not long ago, when Gu Chen publicly abandoned me and walked away, my heart trembles with anger once more. The scene replays vividly before my eyes. "Jiang Hua, Tong Ying is on the brink of death. Do you have no compassion? What's wrong with Gu Chen going to take care of her?" "Exactly, we're all friends. What's the harm in helping out when life and death are at stake?" My two good friends, Lin Shi and Zhao Shui, were indignantly blaming me, as if my anger was just me being unreasonable. Anyone who didn't know better would think I had committed some heinous crime, but in reality, it was that boyfriend who deeply loved me, who, upon hearing the news of his childhood sweetheart's terminal illness, immediately rushed over without a second thought, and I was left alone in the vast hotel, completely ignored. Oh, not entirely, there were still two friends, trying to persuade me to let go of that scumbag and his despicable partner. Thinking back to those words from my past life that were spoken without any sense of Responsibility, I, now reborn, slowly let a gentle and magnanimous smile spread across my face. I understand it all, their bond is so strong, so even if Brother Chen left me alone during the proposal, I can still make sense of it. Lin Shi, who had been about to offer earnest advice, paused for a moment, sensing something amiss, but nodded instinctively nonetheless. It's good that you understand. After all, Ying is on the verge of death, and Gu Chen will still be yours in the end. I smiled. Without saying a word, I used to think the same way, but one wrong step leads to another. After calming my parents and the guests, I received a call from Gu Chen. Wah, are my parents angry? This way of speaking shows he hasn't considered at all whether I might feel embarrassed or hurt. I thought of the couple who were just about to be driven mad by their son's sudden departure, and gently softened my voice. It's fine. Uncle and Auntie will understand. After all, Tongying is dying. It's only natural for you to spend more time with her, especially since she's loved you for so many years. On the other end, Gu Chen, recalling how Tongying had tearfully confessed to having a crush on him for 10 years and was now suffering from a terminal illness, felt his heart soften instantly, but he also didn't forget that this was still our proposal ceremony, so he coaxed me with a guilty tone. Sorry, I didn't expect this to happen. I'll definitely make it up to you in the future. I gave a cold, mocking smile. Please don't. You two better stay locked together forever. Stop causing me trouble. Although I could directly expose the fact that Tongying isn't actually ill, but if I do that, wouldn't I still have to marry Gu Chen? Just thinking about this scenario makes me feel like accidentally stepping in dog poop while walking down the street. Utterly disgusting and irritating. So, they absolutely must be together. And be together well, soon. I heard they had moved into a villa. What a coincidence. It was exactly the house we were going to live in after our wedding. Just because Tongying wanted to be buried in a sea of flowers before she died, the backyard of the marital home happened to have a vast sea of flowers, so they moved in just like that, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. All the items I had carefully prepared became little props to spice up their growing affection. Thinking of the plan I was about to carry out, I moved in overnight and even invited my 2 friends. Otherwise, with just a man and a woman alone. It would sound terrible if word got out. With more people around, wouldn't it be less awkward? They used the same excuse last year, as if they had forgotten that Gu Chen and I were the legitimate couple. They kept pushing Gu Chen and Tongying together, constantly making excuses for them, even when they kissed, calling it an accident. Whenever I got angry, they would start guilt-tripping me, accusing me of being heartless and nitpicking when Tongying was on the verge of death. This place gradually turned into a battlefield of arguments, small fights every 3 days, big fights every 7. Tongying would always apologize to me pitifully, talking about leaving while still clinging to Gu Chen, putting on a dramatic show of parting as if it were a life-or-death separation. And so, Gu Chen would always take her side, had period cramps, and he told me to drink cold water. Yet he rushed out overnight to buy heating pads and painkillers for her. I got drenched in the rain and developed a fever of 39 degrees, while I lay in bed, barely conscious. He was having a candlelit dinner with Tongying, would constantly and tirelessly probe him about when he would be willing to marry me, and he would always say, just wait a little longer. But the moment Tongying appeared, he could drop everything and leave me behind. Back then, I couldn't for the life of me understand how someone could be so shameless. They say a decent ex should act as if they're dead. If you know you're about to die, why come out and ruin someone else's life? So, determined to save face and stand my ground, I tried every possible way to break them up, but in this life, I insist on locking them together by hand. When my parents heard the news that I was moving in, they immediately called me back home for a meal. Their words were filled with probing questions about my attitude toward Gu Chen. Before, my parents thought Gu Chen was perfect in every way, but after this incident, I really feel he's too fickle-minded. He hasn't even properly ended his romantic entanglements before coming to ruin their daughter. How utterly vexing. Sweetie, are you two really going to live together there? Seeing the resentment in their hearts, I rubbed my nose. I couldn't say I had already let it go. After all, I still needed to get back at them in my own way, so I could only give a vague reply. Yeah, I'll stay for a while. My dad and mom exchanged a glance, both sighing inwardly. If you ever feel wronged, just come back home. There are plenty of good men in the world. He's not the only one, and even if not, we have hands and feet. Are we really afraid of feeding one more mouth? Finally, my father dropped a heavy sentence with a solemn expression. Hearing this, my nose tingled with emotion. In my past life, after making a complete mess of everything, I ran off abroad without a word, all for the sake of saving face. Just as I had finally come to terms with it, I heard the news of their fatal car accident. I truly became all alone in the world. Fortunately, now I have a chance to start over. I've thought it through. The best way to defeat moral coercion is to throw it right back, unchanged, hilarious, as if anyone can't find a friend with a terminal illness. So, just as Gu Chen and his group returned home, they saw me getting out of a taxi with Meng Ci. His brows were weary, his expression pale, his tall and slender frame forced to lean on someone else, making him appear gentle and refined as jade. In short, he looked even more like a pretty boy, the kind that's ready to step into the house and make himself at home. Apart from Gu Chen, whose face darkened, everyone else exchanged puzzled glances, momentarily unsure why I had brought him back. Suddenly, Meng Ci coughed a few times. I pretended to pat his firm chest, feigning concern. "Are you okay?" He shook his head. "I'm fine." Then, with deep affection, he grabbed my hand. "Thank goodness you came with me to the hospital. I hate going there the most, and I'll have to trouble you for a while longer." I smiled cooperatively. "It's fine, we're good friends, after all." The stunned few, "Ah, this feels so familiar." After entering the house, I took the opportunity to introduce him to everyone. "This is my good friend Meng Ci, whom you all saw at the hospital this afternoon. He'll be staying with us from now on, so I'd appreciate it if you could look out for him." "Hello," Meng Ci said softly, then coughed lightly a few times, as if to emphasize his fragile health. Gu Chen suddenly questioned, "We've been together for so long, how come I never knew you had this friend?" Just as I was about to answer, Meng Ci cut in first. "It hasn't been that long, we only met a few days ago." Then he lowered his head and chuckled softly, saying something shocking, "But I fell in love with Hua at first sight. She knows I don't have long to live and couldn't bear to reject me. If you want to blame someone, blame me. After all, I'm about to die anyway." With that, he coughed a few more times, his eyes filled with gloom. Gu Chen had never seen such a male green tea before. He opened his mouth but found himself at a loss for words. Tong Ying, however, frowned and said, "Staying at someone else's house after just 2 days of knowing each other isn't appropriate, is it? Besides, Sister Hua is still Brother Chen's fiancée." Meng Ci glanced at her, his gaze somewhat cool, then as if hurt, he shamefully lowered his head. "Ahem, I'm really sorry for disturbing you. I heard before that you moved into their marital home, and I thought it was allowed. Turns out it's not. Me, damn, bro, that deserves a raise." Gu Chen's expression instantly changed, and he anxiously looked at me. Hua, I didn't intentionally bring her to live here. It's just that Tong Tong likes the flowers in the yard, and the environment here is better." I nodded understandingly, cutting him off promptly. MHM, when you kissed on the balcony, it was also mouth to mouth resuscitation. I totally get it. I only found out about this much later in my previous life. Back then, I was about to go abroad, and Tong Ying came over to kick me while I was down, proudly boasting about how infatuated Gu Chen was with her. Yet Gu Chen had only ever held my hand, claiming it was out of respect for me. Thinking about it now still feels so ironic. In an instant, the entire living room fell into silence, especially Gu Chen and Tong Ying. They were probably wondering when I had seen it. I glanced at them and thought that the version of myself from my past life, who had cursed and shouted upon seeing that scene, really shouldn't have. Once a dog has eaten shit, how can you still expect it to change its mind? He should be made to eat shit forever, because I acted so magnanimously. Even Lin Shi and Zhao Shui couldn't find fault. What else could they say? That my tone wasn't cheerful enough. As the atmosphere froze, Meng Ci once again added fuel to the fire. "Strange, the balcony is so small. Were you standing there giving mouth to mouth? Does that mean you could do it for me too?" I replied with a straight face. "Sure, after all, we're good friends." Gu Chen, "Good friends, my ass." Enough. Gu Chen couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, "Jiang Hua, you think I embarrassed you by leaving you behind that day, so you're deliberately finding someone to piss me off, aren't you?" I really wanted to sneer and slap him across the face so he knew all along, but I just kept lying through my teeth. "I'm not, I didn't." Meng Ci nodded in agreement. "Mr. Gu, please don't be angry, it's all my fault. I was the one shamelessly pestering Hua. If you want to blame someone, blame me." Tong Ying's face instantly flushed with heat. If he was shameless, then what was she? Wasn't that even more disgusting? Suddenly, Tong Ying felt a tightness in her chest and shortness of breath, and fainted instantly. Tong. Gu Chen quickly picked her up and ran upstairs. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui watched anxiously, turning their heads, instinctively ready to blame me. But then, they saw Meng Ci cough heavily a few times, his face drained of color, and in the next second, he actually coughed up a mouthful of blood. I never expected him to pull such a move, and in an instant, I quickly supported him and helped him upstairs as well. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui silently closed their mouths, their hearts filled with puzzled thoughts. Oh dear, it looks quite serious, doesn't it? Could it be a terminal illness too? As soon as the door closed, Meng Ci immediately became lively and energetic. Seeing me frown with worry, he smiled and explained, "It's nothing, just occasionally spitting up blood. It looks scary, but it's actually no big deal." I was half convinced, but seeing the sparkle in his eyes, I also breathed a sigh of relief. "You scared me to death. I thought you were so angry with them that you coughed up blood. That would have been my fault." Meng Ci rubbed his nose and asked, "So, I'll stay here for now?" "Exactly, the house is registered under my name." How dare he object? "It's just that in my previous life, I was deceived by those two into selling the house and even had that sum of money swindled away, so this grudge must be avenged." A few minutes later, Gu Chen hurriedly knocked on the door. Seeing Meng Ci lying in bed looking weak and frail, he hesitantly asked, "I heard he vomited blood." "They just went to the hospital specifically to learn about his condition, saying his health is failing, that he could cough up blood and die at any moment, and that his emotions shouldn't be too agitated." "That sounds quite eerie." I glanced at him indifferently. "I've already gone to bed, so is there anything else?" Remembering his purpose for coming, he quickly added, "Why don't you move to another room? A man and a woman alone in one room. It wouldn't sound good if word got out." Lin Shi immediately nodded beside me. "Exactly, that's so inappropriate." I chuckled softly, with a hint of sarcasm. "A few days ago, when Tong Ying fainted, didn't you stay by her side all night without even taking off your clothes?" Gu Chen sounded a bit impatient. "She's just a patient. What could I possibly do to a patient?" I smiled and retorted, "Exactly, ACI is just a patient. What could I possibly do to him?" Gu Chen choked, instantly at a loss for words. Seeing this, I sneered coldly, wishing I could kick this scumbag flying. In my past life, Tong Ying would faint at the drop of a hat, and Gu Chen would always take meticulous care of her. Caring for her led to them ending up in the same bed, with the excuse that it was all an accident. If it was truly an accident, how could they have even taken their clothes off? Absolutely disgusting. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui even explained that they just slept together in an embrace, still innocent, and asked me not to make a fuss. After all, Tong Ying is about to die, so what's wrong with giving in to her? And at that time, I could only suffer in silence, forced to swallow my anger. Now that I think about it, it was all nonsense. Gu Chen still wouldn't give up. "Then I'll take care of him myself." I gave him a curious look. "That won't do. Miss Tong still needs you to look after her. I care about you so much. How could I let you take care of two people? Besides, Lin Shi and Zhao Shui aren't familiar with ACI. Wouldn't it be awkward for them to be together? And this bed is only so big. You can't all squeeze in together, can you?" Seeing his words were completely blocked, Gu Chen's face darkened. "Suit yourself." With that, he turned and left. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui exchanged a glance, then found an excuse to take their leave. Meanwhile, on the bed, Meng Ci opened his eyes. These people truly use the name of justice to carry out their dirty deeds. I was amused. Who says it's not true? Ignoring Gu Chen's continued objections, Meng Ci still moved in, right next to my room with only a wall between us. Meng Ci said he wanted to let me taste his cooking skills, and since I didn't want to face those other people, I stayed nearby to help out. Just as I was washing the scallions, Meng Ci suddenly leaned in close, reaching for the seasoning in front of me. This position seems to perfectly encircle me. I instinctively stiffened, my heart inexplicably beating a little faster. Even when I was with Gu Chen, the most we ever did was hold hands. No one had ever been this close to me, and in such a posture, no less. Just as I was about to tell him to stay away from me, a roar came from behind. "What are you two doing?" Meng Ci was then roughly pulled away by Gu Chen, who was seething with anger. His waist slammed into the corner of the table, and he frowned, letting out a muffled groan, his expression pained. "Are you insane?" I glared at Gu Chen and quickly checked where Meng Ci was hurt. "In my opinion, this person has just gone crazy again for no reason." Gu Chen's eyes were red. "He was so close to you. Didn't you feel anything at all? Pulling and tugging early in the morning? Are you treating me like air?" Frowning, I questioned him in an impatient tone. "Making breakfast is considered pulling and tugging, then weren't you two cheating behind my back before?" Remembering that he and Tong Ying had been making breakfast together for the past few days, Gu Chen immediately fell silent. His face remained gloomy until he finished breakfast. He also forgot to bring it up to Tong Ying, but I'm no saint, so I couldn't be bothered to remind him. It has to be said, the power of rumors is immense. Although I don't have a good relationship with the people at the company, the embarrassing incident at the engagement ceremony is already known to everyone. Even those who usually enjoy giving me a hard time are hypocritically probing for follow-up details under the guise of concern. After dealing with several groups of people, I finally understood what it means when 3 women can create a whole street of gossip. If I gave them some space, they'd probably start putting on a show right then and there. I thought I would have to find another opportunity to break up with Gu Chen. Who would have thought that after finally getting off work and returning home, the smell of alcohol hit me. I instinctively reached to turn on the light, but a large, well-defined hand grasped mine firmly. I was startled, not knowing when Meng Ci had arrived behind me. As I instinctively stepped back, I accidentally stumbled right into his arms. "Don't turn on the light," he spoke softly, his gentle voice murmuring low in my ear. I didn't understand why, but I also lowered my voice. "Why?" He bent down slightly, but I immediately tensed up. I only then realized that although he usually looked sickly, he had a robust and well-toned physique. Just his proximity gave off a faint sense of pressure. Trapped in his embrace, I didn't dare move for a moment. He seemed unaware of my tension and continued speaking unhurriedly. "A ready-made weakness, isn't it right here?" I hadn't yet grasped his meaning, but my eyes, now adjusted to the darkness, saw Gu Chen and Tong Ying rolling together on the sofa, their faces flushed, clearly both heavily intoxicated. I was taken aback. "Are they both drunk?" Meng Ci's tone carried a hint of amusement. "Hua Hua, didn't you want to break up with this scumbag? They've already found the reason for you." I fell silent for a moment, thinking that in my past life, they had probably already been tangled up like this long ago. So, how could Gu Chen do such things with someone else while still claiming to love me? "Then what do you plan to do?" Meng Ci straightened up and snorted with a laugh. "Of course, it's about giving them a taste of their own medicine." After capturing all their disgraceful actions on camera, I took a deep breath, turned on the lights, and put on an angry expression. "What are you doing?" My voice was sharp and loud, startling Lin Shi and Zhao Shui awake almost instantly. "Jiang Hua, what are you yelling for?" Lin Shi walked out, clearly displeased, startled awake by the lights and screams. Gu Chen, finding himself stark naked under everyone's gaze, instinctively pulled at the blanket. As a result, Tong Ying, lying beside him, was left mostly exposed, her fair skin covered in bruises of blue and purple. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui, being no strangers to such matters, guessed what might have happened and widened their eyes in shock. But the moment Tong Ying's body was revealed, I immediately turned and covered Meng Ci's eyes. The movement was too hasty, making it seem as if I had thrown myself into his arms. Meng Ci steadied my waist, as if to comfort me. "It's fine." I closed my eyes. Hearing this, I somewhat awkwardly withdrew my hand. "Oh." At that moment, Gu Chen got up with a grim expression and began putting on his clothes. "Jiang Hua, let me explain." I rolled my eyes inwardly and calmly dropped a bombshell. "Forget it, let's break up." "What?" Gu Chen cried out in disbelief, just as Tong Jia slowly woke up, seeing the scene before her. Her face instantly turned pale. Gu Chen tried to salvage the situation. "We just had a little to drink, nothing happened." Seeing him still trying to push the blame with that absurd excuse, I was so angry I almost laughed. Just as I was about to lash out, Meng Ci pinched my waist, calming me down. Gu Chen, sharp-eyed, noticed this gesture and instantly turned his spearhead toward him. "Is it him? Did he say something?" Realizing I was no longer isolated and helpless, I nodded, openly admitting it, determined to infuriate him. "You always say I don't know how to be considerate, nitpicking with someone who's about to die. After meeting ACI, I think you're absolutely right. So, for the rest of his life, I want to stay by his side, to avoid giving anyone a reason to criticize. I think it's best we break up." Gu Chen's face twisted for a moment. After all, when he was with Tong Ying, he never imagined it would give people a reason to gossip. But then he changed his tone and began earnestly trying to persuade me. "But Tong Ying is still your friend, someone you know inside and out. How long have you even known him? What if he's just a scammer?" Although what he said was actually true, I had already made up my mind to cut ties with him, and his words didn't affect me in the slightest. Friends are friends. What does the length of time matter? ACI and I hit it off right away, and we're just purely friends. Aren't you and Tong Ying just pure friendship? Seeing him once again rendered speechless by my words, I sneered inwardly. Truly a friendship of lips. Tong Ying stammered at this moment. This must be a misunderstanding. For this White Lotus, I had absolutely no patience left. I reached out, grabbed Meng Ci, who was watching the show with great interest, and headed upstairs. Oh, right, as if we're all blind, unable to stand them for another day. I sent Gu Chen and Tong Ying's evidence of guilt to Gu Chen's parents, telling them their son had found them a better girlfriend. From then on, we would part ways and never meet again. Mr. and Mrs. Gu were instantly furious. Who is Tong Ying? A dying man. Indeed, taking care of him is one thing, but how could he ever be allowed into the Gu family's inner circle without a second thought for their opinions? With Meng Ci's help, everyone in their social circle quickly learned the whole story and happily settled in to enjoy the drama. After all, the juiciest gossip always comes from someone else's backyard. Several people sent messages that were ostensibly comforting but actually laced with sarcasm in their eyes. I was almost on the verge of a happy ending with Gu Chen, yet he was still snatched away by someone on the brink of death. Just thinking about it makes me furious. Some even thought I was the one who cheated and got dumped, but as soon as others looked into it, everything became clear. A terminally ill friend. You have yours, I have mine. Isn't that fair? Moreover, my initial statement was spread by Lin Shi and Zhao Shui. On one side, he abandoned his girlfriend for a childhood sweetheart with a terminal illness, remaining unmoved despite the rumors flying around. On the other side, he decisively chose to break up to avoid giving others any reason to criticize. In comparison, the difference is clear. Even Lin Shi and Zhao Shui felt that Gu Chen and Tong Ying's previous actions were somewhat unfair. You say there's nothing wrong with taking care of your childhood friend, but you could have broken up with her first, then gone to take care of someone else with a clear conscience. Otherwise, wouldn't everything you do make her feel uncomfortable? Never in a million years would I have expected it. Tong Ying gave me a call. From the sound of it, we were still by the river, with the wind howling fiercely. Jiang Hua, please don't break up with Gu Chen, okay? Her voice choked with sobs, as if her heart were breaking, yet she had no choice but to force the words out through the pain. I was determined to see what kind of mischief she was up to, so I listened silently to her tearful plea. Meng Ci, standing nearby, raised an eyebrow in surprise, his tall frame leaning in as if trying to hear more clearly, as if guided by some unseen force. I didn't press the speakerphone button. Then, I heard the person on the other end of the line sobbing, I'm going to die soon, after I'm gone. Please take care of Gu Chen for me. Hearing this, my face instantly turned cold. TSK, this tone of entrusting sounds more and more grating to the ear. Are you sure you don't want to go to the hospital again? I reminded her coldly. Over there, she was solely focused on organizing her words, and could barely string a sentence together. How could she possibly care about what others were saying? Seeing my expression growing increasingly impatient, Meng Ci chuckled softly and reached out to pluck a grape. What? I asked him quietly. It's washed, for you to eat. The next second, the grape was popped into my mouth. I have to admit, it's quite delicious. So, while the other end of the phone kept chattering away, on this end, you and I shared grapes one by one, eating with great delight. I know you don't like me, and I'm also angry that Gu Chen left you at your engagement ceremony for my sake. I've decided to leave him, but that Meng Ci doesn't seem like a good person at all. I advise you to break up with him as soon as possible, or Gu Chen will get angry. I thought to myself, who does she think she is? Feeling inexplicably annoyed, I simply stopped listening to her nonsense and decisively hung up the phone. Seeing me fuming, Meng Ci naturally pinched my cheek. Didn't you already know what kind of people they are? No need to get this angry. I opened my mouth, wanting to argue, but then I realized, why was I angry? Was it just because she mentioned Meng Ci? Thinking of this, I instinctively glanced in his direction. The young man's short black hair was a bit tousled, with long, narrow eyes, as if noticing my gaze. The glance he cast over had an exceptionally alluring feel to it, even with his sickly pale skin. It couldn't hide his good looks. For some reason, I felt a bit uneasy inside and asked with a puzzled tone, your illness isn't real, is it? A normal person can't just cough up blood at will, though it only happened once. The thought alone makes one feel uneasy. Meng Ci was somewhat surprised that I would bring up this topic out of the blue, but he only vaguely brushed it aside. Seeing his evasion, I suddenly realized he was just someone I had hired. I know nothing about him except his name. How could I care so much about someone like this? It seems I need to end this quickly. Unexpectedly, Gu Chen came looking for me the very next day. He had been called back home by his parents earlier, and as soon as he stepped through the door, he was met with a barrage of accusations. Jiang Hua, why did you drive Ying away? If it weren't for Lin Shi noticing that Ying wasn't home, she might have ended up all alone and wandering outside. Meng Ci reached out and wrapped his hand around my clenched fist, his tone weary and indifferent. What, is she still a 3-year-old child? Can't she survive without others? Gu Chen shot him a glare before turning back to me, his gaze sharp as if looking at an enemy. But she's just a girl. If she gets bullied out there, how could you live with yourself? Meng Ci couldn't stand the way he was yelling at me, and his expression quickly turned cold, his tone unusually sharp. What, who is Hua Hua to you? You provide her with food and shelter. But that's not enough. Now you even want to control whether she goes out or not. Originally, I couldn't help but be angered by Gu Chen's disgusting behavior, but Meng Ci's unwavering defense of me quickly cooled my temper. Thinking of Tong Ying's exaggerated, tearful performance last night, I pretended to be deeply distressed. This is clearly your fault. You didn't give her enough sense of security. She clearly wants so badly to stay by your side, yet you haven't given her any assurance. She likes you so much, and she doesn't have much time left. If you truly care about her, you should give her a proper place by your side. Gu Chen didn't expect me to say that. He choked for a moment, then put on a pained expression and said, "Isn't this all to put your mind at ease? I know you've always liked me, but Ying has liked me for so many years too. Now that she doesn't have much time left, could you please, for my sake, stop making things difficult for her?" These words genuinely disgusted me, so for a moment, I couldn't find a response. Meng Ci, standing nearby, let out a scornful laugh. His beautiful phoenix eyes held a barely noticeable malice and jealousy. "Who do you think you are? Hua Hua has already broken up with you, yet you still think you're such a hot commodity. In reality, you're nothing but a piece of trash, gilded on the outside but rotten within." His words filled my heart with satisfaction. Meng Ci felt it wasn't enough to utterly crush someone's spirit. Not only did he wrap his arms around my waist, but he also pretended to be fragile. After all, Hua Hua has been keeping me company all this time. How could she possibly have the chance to make things difficult for her? Besides, I really like Hua Hua too. Since I don't have much time left anyway, why don't you just be a little more generous and not get angry with me over this? How could Gu Chen not be furious? Wasn't this just openly cuckolding him right in front of his face? Seeing him unhappy makes me happy. What Ah Ci said is so right. He's not in good health, so you shouldn't be so nitpicky with him. I actually learned this line from Gu Chen in my past life. Gu Chen looked utterly shocked, staring at us as if we were a pair of adulterers. "What did you say?" I turned to look at Lin Shi and Zhao Shui. "You agree, right?" They nodded. "Yes, what you said makes sense." Gu Chen was furious. "How can you take her side?" Lin Shi and Zhao Shui exchanged a glance and declared firmly, "We've always been like this." Once back in the room, I finally couldn't hold back my laughter. "You really know how to infuriate someone without paying the price. Ha ha ha." Meng Ci curved his eyes slightly, staring at me without saying a word, but inwardly, he silently thought, "Hua Hua is wonderful, but soon she'll be mine." Feeling that I had finally vented my anger and not wanting to worry my parents any further, I decided to move out of this place. We'll find time later to sell this house, otherwise just looking at it makes one feel unhappy. Upon hearing this news, Meng Ci fell silent for a moment, then gave a light laugh, just like when we first met, dispelling all the distance and coldness around him. "That's great." Hearing this, my heart felt heavy, yet I didn't know what to say. "Right, I almost forgot he's just an actor. He's so good-looking. Why aren't his shows popular? Does he have a lot of girlfriend fans?" "Probably a lot of people like him, right? But in reality, we are merely in an employer-employee relationship, so, for some inexplicable reason, when he took my hand, I didn't think to pull it back." Perhaps it was because, faced once again with the kind of awkward and lonely situation from my past life, someone was willing to stand in front of me. "Just for a little while, I'll indulge in this feeling, just for a little while." Gu Chen saw our commotion and quickly stepped in front of us. "Hua Hua, are you moving out?" "Why?" I gave him a strange look. "You haven't forgotten, have you, that this was our previous marital home? Now that we've broken up and won't be getting married, I'll explain things to my parents, so there's really no need for me to stay here anymore, right? Since I've decided to distance myself from this scumbag and his mistress, and the purpose of moving in has already been fulfilled, why should I continue to endure the discomfort of staying here?" Gu Chen saw Meng Ci holding my hand, his face alternating between green and red. "Are you really going to take him back with you?" I nodded with a beaming smile. Meng Ci suddenly leaned in, wearing a smug and disdainful grin like a concubine who had successfully risen to power. Wah wah is so wonderful, not only did she break up with you for me, but she's also willing to take me home, unlike someone who's still just a good friend to this day. I couldn't help but laugh, worried that he might really get angry and stop us from leaving, so I quickly pulled Meng Xiai away. Tong Ying, who had just been brought back upstairs, turned pale upon hearing these words. And tears immediately began to fall. Just good friends, is that all? After returning home, I suddenly didn't feel so excited anymore. You said a friend would come to pick you up later, right? The air suddenly fell silent. Meng Xiai turned to look, his smile tinged with loneliness, as if a lingering reluctance flowed between the two of them. Well, you should go back. I opened my mouth, feeling I had no reason to keep him any longer. After all, my own emotional life was such a mess. In others' eyes, it might well be seen as a complete disaster. Okay, I should have felt a great sense of relief now that Mingming had finally gotten rid of those two, but somehow, I just couldn't focus on anything. My parents thought I was depressed because of Gu Chen, so they started speaking and walking softly around me, privately blaming him for ruining their daughter. I had thought that I just needed to get used to living alone again, but when Gu Chen messaged me to meet up, I felt as if I had come back to life, eagerly dialing the old number, but I heard someone else's voice on the other end. Feeling like I had finally vented my anger and not wanting to worry my parents any longer, I decided to move out of this place, would find time later to sell this house. Otherwise, just looking at it would make me feel uneasy. Upon hearing this news, Meng Xiai fell silent for a moment, then let out a soft laugh, just like when they first met, dispelling all the distance and coldness around him. That's wonderful. Hearing this, my heart sank, but I didn't know what to say. Oh right, I almost forgot he's just an actor. With looks like his, why aren't his shows more popular? I wonder if he has many girlfriend fans. There must be many people who like him, right? But in reality, we are merely in an employer-employee relationship. So, for some inexplicable reason, when he took my hand, I didn't think to pull it back. Perhaps it was because, when faced with the same kind of awkward and lonely situation as in my past life, someone was willing to stand in front of me just a little while longer, just a little while. Gu Chen noticed our movements and quickly stepped in front of us. Wah wah, are you moving out? Why? I gave him a strange look. You haven't forgotten, have you, that this was our wedding home? Now that we've broken up and won't be getting married, I'll talk to our parents, so there's really no need for me to stay here anymore, right? Since I've decided to distance myself from that scumbag and that shameless woman, and the purpose of moving in has already been achieved, why should I continue to endure the discomfort and stay here? Gu Chen saw Meng Xiai holding my hand, his face alternating between green and red. Are you really going to take him back with you? I nodded with a beaming smile. Meng Xiai suddenly leaned in, wearing a triumphant and disdainful grin, like a concubine who had successfully risen to power. Hua Hua is so wonderful, not only did she break up with you for me, but she's also willing to take me home, unlike someone who's still just a good friend to this day. I couldn't help but laugh, afraid that I might really upset the person and they would stop us from leaving, so I quickly pulled him away. Tong Ying, who had just been brought back upstairs, turned pale upon hearing these words, and tears immediately began to fall. Just good friends, is that all? After returning home, I suddenly didn't feel so excited anymore. You said a friend will come to pick you up later, right? The air suddenly fell silent. Meng Xiai turned to look, a somewhat lonely smile on his face, as if a lingering reluctance flowed between the two of them. Yes, you should go back now. I opened my mouth, feeling that I had no reason to keep him any longer. After all, my own emotional life is such a mess. In the eyes of others, it must look like a complete disaster. All right, I should feel a sense of relief now that I've finally broken free from those two, yet somehow, I can't focus on anything at all. My parents thought I was depressed because of Gu Chen, so they started speaking and walking softly, privately blaming him for ruining their daughter. I originally thought that as long as I got used to living alone again, everything would be fine, but when Gu Chen sent a message asking me to meet up, I felt as if I had come back to life, eagerly dialing the old phone number. I heard someone else's voice on the other end. It wasn't until Gu Chen, with a face full of guilt, asked me to pretend to be pregnant to cover things up, so that others wouldn't think Tong Ying was improper, that I finally lost my temper. Do you have any shame, Gu Chen? Her reputation matters, but mine doesn't. You two hooking up is one thing, but getting her pregnant and then expecting me to take the fall, are you out of your minds? Meng Xiai had never encountered someone so shameless before. He was so angry he actually laughed, one clings to someone else's boyfriend, the other knocks someone up and shirks responsibility. Truly a perfect example of moral decay. You two are a match made in heaven. Gu Chen, already feeling guilty, was now furious and embarrassed. What's it to you? Meng Xi's eyes flickered as a sudden idea came to mind. To be honest, because of my illness, no one is willing to be with me, but I'm the only son in my family. Could you? Tong Ying's face stiffened, feeling that the meaning she had guessed in her heart was too shocking, afraid others might hear, yet unable to suppress her anger, she said. What do you mean? You want me to leave an heir for your family? I immediately understood Meng Xi's meaning. Inside, I was nearly laughing hysterically, but on the surface, I appeared extremely anxious. My parents have always wanted a child. If Miss Tongying goes and the child is born, what will happen without a mother to raise them? Gu Chen trembled with rage. What do you take me for? I glanced at him. The child's mother is gone. How are you going to explain this to your parents? They won't accept a child that appears out of nowhere. Having a child before marriage, that's not a good reputation. Gu Chen angrily pointed at Meng Xi. But isn't he also about to die? I narrowed my eyes, finding his words extremely grating. Meng Xi chuckled lightly. Even if I'm gone, my family will have an heir. My parents couldn't be happier. Tongying gritted her teeth, pointing at me. Can't you have Jiang Hua bear one for you then? Meng Xi looked at her with disgust. How could I possibly let a decent family's daughter be with a sickly man like me for no reason? Wouldn't that just ruin her life? Tongying was about to explode with anger. What? So she wasn't from a decent family then? Gu Chen, seeing her face pale with anger, quickly patted her back to soothe her. Don't be angry. You're still carrying a child. Tongying was still fuming. How could you even think of using a child like that? It's utterly shameless and despicable. I leaned against Meng Xi's shoulder with a smile. Exactly. How could anyone let someone else raise their child? It's downright insane and utterly heartless. Meng Xi also sneered. So, what exactly are you here for? Gu Chen was suddenly at a loss for words. According to what they just said, does that mean I'm supposed to take care of their child for no reason at all? The scene instantly fell into an eerie silence. Even the onlookers who had been quietly observing the drama snapped out of it. After their worldview was severely shaken, they sneered in disdain. Unbelievable. Isn't this just a massive double-standard scene? Seeing that they still wouldn't give up, Meng Xi immediately shut them up with one sentence. If you bring this up again, I'll send the photos of you two messing around on the sofa straight to your parents. Then, this shitstorm won't land on my head anymore. I marveled inwardly. Ahaha. Meng Xi's foresight was absolutely spot on. After going out, I was afraid that I really wouldn't be able to contact Meng Xi again. So I quickly added him on WeChat. Meng Xi looked quite pleased, thinking about the future. I looked at his somewhat pale face and tentatively took his hand. Why not seize the day and go to the hospital again? Maybe your diagnosis was a mistake. Meng Xi was taken aback at first, I thought. He stopped halfway through his sentence and didn't continue, knowing I was still concerned about his previous episode of vomiting blood. He didn't refuse. After all, being cared for is something that makes people happy. Since visiting the hospital, I understood that he only vomits blood occasionally, but his health is otherwise excellent. I was only puzzled for a moment before accepting it. It was probably Meng Xi who deliberately misled them before. There are indeed incurable diseases in the world, and perhaps there is such a strange illness. Soon, I heard Gu Chen's name again. I heard that Tong Ying's situation was discovered, and Gu Chen had to shed tears, saying she didn't have much time left and asking to take care of her for a while longer. However, when she had to go to the hospital due to severe morning sickness, Tong Ying was told by the doctor that there was absolutely nothing wrong with her. In other words, she was perfectly healthy, and so was the baby. Mr. and Mrs. Gu were too busy with company matters to pay any attention to their love-hate drama, but Gu Chen felt deceived. He gave up so much for her, yet she hasn't done a thing. Some whispered behind his back, mocking him for being blind, deceived, cuckolded, yet still happily holding her in the palm of his hand. A complete joke. Others speculated that they must have been involved long before, staging this whole affair just to let the mistress take her place. It's also their own fault for doing so many high-sounding things in the name of love before. Now that the truth has come to light, many things can no longer withstand scrutiny. I had thought that since Tong Ying already had a child, she would have given up on causing trouble. I never expected her to show up at my company in broad daylight, blocking my way with her big belly, in front of everyone, tears welling up in her eyes. She suddenly knelt down. Miss Jiang, please, I beg you, ask your boyfriend to let Brother Chen go. For the sake of your past engagement with him, tsk, truly a white lotus. How terrifying the amount of information revealed in just one short sentence. But, did ACI take action against Gu Chen's family company? Well done, ahaha, I cleared my throat, my expression even more sorrowful than hers. Miss Tong, it's not that I don't want to help you, business collaborations are just like this, sometimes they succeed, sometimes they fail, how can you call it suppression? Besides, now that you're pregnant with Gu Chen's child, why are you still wearing high heels when you go out? What if you fall? What if you have a miscarriage? If you lose the baby, how will you ever marry Gu Chen? Because I was too emotional when I said that last sentence, the people nearby heard it clearly, and their previously sympathetic gazes instantly changed. Wow, not even married yet and already pregnant, and the lover used to be someone else's fiancé. Impressive. Tong Ying's expression twisted for a moment, never expecting me to be so ruthless, and I don't know if my words had an effect, but her stomach really started to ache faintly. Then someone pointed at her stomach and screamed, "Ah, she's bleeding down there, is she going to have a miscarriage?" Tong Ying's expression instantly turned pale. "Ah, my stomach hurts so much." I frowned, thinking it was very likely she wasn't faking it. After all, this was her only trump card. Just as I was about to call an ambulance, Gu Chen barged in with disheveled hair and a fierce expression, shouting, "Jiang Hua, what have you done to Ying Ying again?" It was truly a case of standing innocently by while blame fell from the sky. The man beside me sneered and retorted, "It was your little mistress who came looking for trouble in high heels, and you're blaming others. What kind of behavior is that? Birds of a feather really do flock together." I gave him a grateful smile, then met Gu Chen's bloodshot eyes with a cold expression. "Instead of accusing others without knowing the facts, you should call an ambulance first." At that moment, Meng Ci ran over, panting, his face showing obvious concern. "Are you okay? Did they bully you?" Even though the situation seemed to be in my favor, he still came, and his first words were words of concern. My heart softened a little, and I no longer wanted to continue this entanglement with them, so I took his hand. "It's fine, take me home." He seemed pleasantly surprised, then answered very quickly, "Okay." Then we didn't even glance at them again. Later, I heard from others that Tong Ying had lost her baby. It seems it was because she ate something she shouldn't have. Gu Chen was furious, believing she had caused the death of his child. He also deeply regretted it, saying he had given me up for her. I sneered coldly and no longer paid any mind to their affairs. After all, a scumbag is a scumbag. How could changing the target ever alter his true nature? And after that day, perhaps sensing my softening toward him, Meng Ci began approaching me even more frequently. Intimate words flowed effortlessly from his lips, as if pushing me to drop my stubbornness sooner or later. Truth be told, I wasn't blind to the affection in his eyes. It's just that amidst the joy, there's also an inexplicable sense of panic, probably because I'm afraid of being abandoned by someone again. Meng Ci could see it too. While subtly accommodating me, he continued to quietly undermine the Gu family's business. It's all their fault for making his journey to win his wife back so long, but water wears away stone, and the human heart is so soft. Even my parents couldn't stand to watch, thinking I was stringing him along. Although what happened with Gu Chen was truly awful, people always have to look forward. That boy is a good one. If you really don't want to hold him back, you should make it clear to him as soon as possible. Several of your aunties want him as a son-in-law. My originally anxious heart was instantly filled with shame and annoyance. No way. My mother smiled knowingly. All right, I know you all too well. You're so possessive that you even get upset when others glance at him. The sooner you two settle things, the better your father and I will feel at ease. I knew they were afraid I would be disappointed in the future. That was indeed the case before, but now, there is one person whose very name makes my heart bloom with joy, leaving no room for any other thought. I know, I'll have a good talk with him, but I still need to find the right moment. I can't just go up and say, "Will you be my boyfriend?" That would be so awkward. So it dragged on until Meng Ci's birthday, and during these days, Meng Ci had also laid all his cards on the table. The actor he had found before was his friend, who wasn't actually an actor. His family only owned an ordinary listed company, and if he didn't want to work, he could live off his parents for the rest of his life. When I first heard this, I fell silent for a moment and even joked, "Could it be that you've liked me all along? Is that why you deliberately got close to me?" He didn't argue, just grabbed my hand and kissed it, saying with righteous conviction, "Exactly. You're so wonderful. If someone wrongs you, they're blind." My nose tingled with emotion. I always felt that meeting him was truly the best thing, but I also wondered, Why had this person never appeared in my previous life, as if he had suddenly appeared out of nowhere? So, after helping the drunk Meng Ci back to his room, I asked him once again when he had started liking me. He rolled over, pinning me beneath him, then leaned down to kiss my forehead, his gaze filled with deep affection. Of course, a very, very long time ago, under his gaze, I suddenly remembered the disgusting scenes from my past life and couldn't help but shed tears of grievance. Then why didn't you show up when I was being bullied? He was somewhat flustered, his gentle kisses moving from the corner of my eye to the corner of my mouth. I'm sorry, if I hadn't gone abroad before, I wouldn't have left you to face those things alone. Please don't cry, it's all my fault. If I had known, I would have come back sooner and never let you go abroad by yourself. Go abroad? I was shocked, even forgetting to cry. Wasn't that from my past life? Could it be? At this thought, I was momentarily stunned, feeling both relieved and sad. So, I wasn't as worthless as they said. Someone was willing to keep me in their heart after all. Thank goodness you came back. Woo-woo. Well, I'm back. Then we got married very quickly. When I was with Gu Chen before, it took 3 years of being together before I was willing to get engaged. Now, I've only known Meng Ci for 3 months, yet my heart is already filled with thoughts of married life. I guess that's how it is when you meet someone you truly like. After learning that I was reborn, Meng Ci often worried that I might become unhappy again upon encountering Gu Chen and the others, but, with better people already waiting for me, how could I possibly be distracted by those who no longer matter? After all, the past is beyond reach, yet the days ahead remain bright. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My mother traveled 50 kilometers to a dairy farm to buy fresh milk specifically to nourish my pregnant sister-in-law. When she brought it back, insisting on preserving its natural sweetness, she didn't boil or sterilize it and directly gave it to my sister-in-law to drink. But I felt something was off and quickly poured out the fresh milk my mother bought, warning them that drinking unpasteurized milk could lead to brucellosis. Yet, my mother and sister-in-law refused to listen and insisted on buying it for the whole family to drink. To my surprise, a few months later, the whole family developed high fevers that wouldn't subside, and my sister-in-law even suffered a miscarriage. Tests revealed brucellosis, yet they blamed it all on me, and my brother even held me down in fresh milk, suffocating me to death. You're the only one who didn't get brucellosis. You must have deliberately kept it from us early on, hoping the whole family would die so you could inherit the property. Since that's the case, you can go bury with my son. You have no idea, this milk was squeezed from the cow less than 2 hours ago, still warm, not even pasteurized, with all the nutrients intact. My mother held a bowl of hot milk, smiling as she looked at my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law, with her big belly, looked at the bowl of milk and said happily, "Mom is the best, going so far to bring this back for me. It's so delicious. Mom, you've worked hard, you should have some too." The two of them were the picture of maternal kindness and filial devotion, but I found myself staring at that bowl of milk, lost in thought. This milk was specifically bought by my mom, making me drive her 100 kilometers round trip, and she didn't mention a word about it. Seeing me staring at the milk, my mom's smile faded as she said coldly, "What are you looking at? There's none for you. All of this is saved for your brother and his wife. What does a girl like you need such good milk for?" Watching my mom's disdainful expression, I couldn't help but laugh, but my mother didn't know that the so-called fresh milk she spoke of had never undergone proper sterilization and disinfection, and drinking it could cause brucellosis. In my previous life, she would bring back this kind of fresh milk every day, claiming, "This is the freshest, most nutritious milk. Drinking it will guarantee my daughter-in-law gives birth to a healthy 8-pound baby boy." She even urged the whole family to drink this milk for nourishment, but when I found out, I poured out all the milk at home and told my mother that drinking it could lead to brucellosis. I never expected my mom to suddenly slap me across the face. "You ungrateful brat, how dare you say this premium milk of mine could make people sick? You're just jealous I won't let you drink it. Do you even know how much this costs per pound? You should be ashamed to even think about drinking it." Later, when the whole family got sick, and my sister-in-law even had a miscarriage, they blamed everything on me. Now, my mom is yelling at me again just like old times. "Look at what kind of books you're reading. We asked you to send us $10,000 every month, and how long did you last before saying you're out of money? Don't you know your sister-in-law is about to have a baby? There will be so many expenses coming up. Instead of helping out more at home, you're just focused on these nice things. In my previous life, I earned $12,000 a month, and my mother demanded I contribute $10,000 to the household, completely disregarding that I still had to pay rent, utilities, and other expenses. Every month, I had to scrimp and save. They still thought it wasn't enough and insisted I send my entire salary back home every month. If I hadn't gotten a promotion, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford rent, let alone buy a car. Now, looking at my mother and my sister-in-law, who was naturally entitled, I couldn't help but sneer. Mom, you're right, I don't have money, so I don't deserve to drink your milk. You too should drink more of it, it's especially good for your health, especially freshly squeezed milk. Mom said it's the most nutritious. If you squeeze it yourself, wouldn't it be even more nutritious? Maybe my sister-in-law could even give birth to a son. My mother, after hearing this, said with a pleased smile, "That's right, Freya. I'll go milk it for you myself tomorrow, it's really good." Nourishment my ass. Freshly milked cow's milk contains a ton of bacteria, sis-in-law, especially for you. It might even turn the baby in your belly into a genius. With that, I turned and walked away, not wanting to deal with these people at all. My mother looked at the milk with delight. In her eyes, I was just a slave to the James family. She watched me leave with a satisfied gaze. That's right, my healthy and brilliant grandson. Freya, drink up quickly. If it tastes good, I'll bring you more tomorrow morning. But my sister-in-law found it strange and looked at my mother. Mom, isn't Harry driving? How did you get there? My mother looked at my sister-in-law with a triumphant expression. You're so naive. Your sister, she bought a car for tens of thousands of dollars. These days, I've been making her get up early to drive me to buy milk. She keeps saying she has no money, yet she could afford a car. No way. I'll take the car back these days. What does a young girl need a car for anyway? My sister-in-law sipped the milk and said with a smile, Mom, but doesn't Donna need to drive to work every day? If you take the car back, how will she get to work? My mom said nonchalantly, it's just a few kilometers, isn't it? Only 5 kilometers. You could even walk there. Why make such a fuss? Once we get the car back, I'll take you for a ride every day. My sister-in-law stroked her belly and said with a smile, Mom, if it really doesn't work out, give her the electric scooter at home. I don't want her to be late for work because she doesn't have a car. After all, there are many expenses for the baby in my belly, and I'm counting on her to book me a luxury postpartum care center. Little did they know, I hadn't left yet and heard everything. These days, my mother has been demanding that I wake up early to drive her to the ranch, a round trip of several hours. I wanted to refuse, but she guilt-tripped me, causing me to be frequently late for work, yet she couldn't care less. Being late is no big deal, nothing is more important than my grandson. Besides, it's only natural for you to drive me. It's not like it takes that long, just a few hours. If it weren't for my recent promotion and the fact that I made up the lost time by working late into the night, I would have cursed them out long ago. At this thought, I clenched my fists and sneered, this family truly has no shame, sucking me dry like this. At 6 a.m. the next morning, my mom knocked on the door of my rented apartment. Donna, what time is it already? Hurry up and take me to the farm. I need to get fresh milk for your sister-in-law. I groggily opened the door, exhausted from working overtime all night. My mom was holding an empty plastic bucket, gesturing for me to hurry outside. What time is it and you're still sleeping? Do you have any idea how important this milk is for your sister-in-law? I'm telling you, if you make me miss the time to get fresh milk, don't think you'll be able to go to work at all. Watching my mother's haughty demeanor, I couldn't help but roll my eyes and say with a laugh, Mom, that's a 100-kilometer round trip by car. If I take you, I'll definitely be late for work. So what if you're late? It's only natural for you to accompany me to buy milk. Besides, you'll be married off in a few years anyway. After all the effort we've put into raising you, the bride price should be at least $660,000, just enough for your brother's down payment. I clenched my fists. I never expected my mother to have calculated my future bride price so meticulously. How painstaking. Too bad, I'm not that foolish. Okay, Mom, wait for me outside while I go in and tidy up a bit. Before my mom could react, I immediately closed the door and went back to sleep. I forgot to tell my mom, I worked overtime yesterday, so today's my day off. I secured the windows, turned off my phone, put in my noise-canceling earplugs, and went back to blissful sleep. After waiting 20 minutes with no sign of me, my mom started knocking on the door again. Donna, haven't you gotten your lazy ass out yet? I'm telling you, the milk is only fresh in the morning. Look at you, sleeping in every day. What kind of girl behaves like this? Another half hour passed, and my mom started to sense something was off. Normally, I was the most obedient and considerate toward her, so why hadn't I come out today? Her knocking turned to kicking. Donna, how dare you lie to me? I've sacrificed to put you through school, and you can't even be bothered to go buy me some milk. Fine, fine, you're nothing but an ungrateful wretch. What's the point of having a daughter like you? When no one answered the door, my mom grew even angrier. She couldn't stand defiance from me or my brother. She grabbed a plastic bucket and started slamming it against the door, until our neighbor Aunt Lee flung open her own door and started yelling at her. What the hell? Who the hell are you, making such a racket early in the morning, you lunatic? If you want to argue, get the hell out. What time do you think it is? It's only past 7, keep making noise and see if I don't kick you out. My mom wasn't the least bit intimidated and fired right back. This is my daughter's house, I'll make as much noise as I want. What's it to you, you nosy old hag? Go ahead, call the security to throw me out if you dare. Aunt Lee was so angry that she directly splashed a basin of foot-washing water on her. My mom was furious and immediately started yelling, how dare you splash me, believe it or not. I'll teach you a lesson, you filthy bitch. The next second, just as she was about to take action, a security guard stopped her. Ma'am, you're already causing a disturbance, you can't stay here any longer. My mother wanted to resist and shouted loudly, my daughter lives here, and I'm also a resident, how can I be disturbing the peace? Are you out of your mind? Let me tell you, I'm going to file a complaint against you. Unexpectedly, the security guard smiled and said, even if you're a resident, you can't keep causing a disturbance. Besides, if this were your home, why can't you get in? My mother was left speechless, and the security guard forcibly escorted her out, leaving her fuming and cursing at the entrance of the neighborhood to buy fresh milk. She took the bus and then transferred to the subway, traveling for a full 4 hours to reach this remote dairy farm. When she arrived at the farm, she discovered the fresh milk was already sold out. Enraged, she yelled at the staff, it's already gone at this hour. Do you have any idea how far I've come? I don't care, you have to give me some, or I won't let you off easy. She lay on the ground wailing and threw the plastic barrel directly at the staff member's head. Seeing my mother causing a scene, the staff quickly explained, Auntie, it's already afternoon, and this freshly squeezed milk hasn't been sterilized yet. How about I give you some milk from our factory instead? Hearing this, my mother rolled her eyes and immediately said, I don't want this factory milk. It's definitely not as good as fresh squeezed, and they sterilize it too. Sterilization kills all the nutrients. No way, I want fresh, just squeezed milk. My mom immediately jumped up from the ground, caused a scene at the dairy farm, and ran straight to the cows to squeeze the milk by hand. The staff exclaimed in shock, Auntie, these cows could hurt you. My mom wasn't the least bit afraid. She reached out roughly to grab at them, even looking quite pleased with herself. I'm not afraid of these beasts. Isn't this a piece of cake? Who would have thought? The next second, the cow got angry and kicked my mom flying with one hoof. My mom screamed in pain. My chest, The cow didn't seem to have vented its anger yet, as it kicked my mother's butt again, making her scream even more pitifully. When I woke up and checked my phone, I found my mother had called me dozens of times, and my brother and sister-in-law were all scolding me, but I leisurely put on my clothes and was just heading out when Aunt Lee next door also opened her door. Donna, your mom did show up this morning. Luckily, I managed to chase her away. I was extremely grateful and handed Aunt Lee a box of fruit. By the time I leisurely arrived at the hospital, my mom was in the ward angrily scolding me. What kind of person is this? What is all this? Your sister actually dared to make me go alone to such a far place to buy milk. What kind of heart does she have? And this dairy farm, with so many cows, why wouldn't they sell me freshly squeezed milk? Turns out, my mom was kicked to the ground by one of the cows. Fortunately, it was on grass, so she only had some soreness and no injuries were found during the checkup. My brother saw me and immediately stormed over, slapping me across the face. Do you even know Mom got kicked by a cow? Why weren't you with her? I covered my face but couldn't stop laughing. Why didn't that cow kick Mom hard enough to paralyze her? You're still laughing, Donna. After all these years Mom struggled to raise us both. How dare you even smile? I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Support, come on, bro. It was Mom who raised you. When I was studying, she didn't pay for my living expenses, while he went to an international school with $5,000 a month for living costs. When I was in college, I even had to give her money. Now you're all relying on me to support the whole family, with your measly $3,000 salary a month. What can you even afford? And you dare to hit me? You're the last person who has the right to hit me. I immediately slapped him back. Seeing this from her hospital bed, my mom started yelling at me angrily, "You worthless scum, how dare you hit my son?" My brother was shaking with anger at my words. Just as he was about to strike, I immediately said, "Brother, what a shame, no matter how much I act out, aren't you still my brother? Mom is already so old, and in the future, you'll be the closest person in my life, so, I plan to pay the down payment for your house and book a luxury postpartum care center for my sister-in-law." As soon as these words were spoken, Harry, who had just been ready to hit me, immediately changed his attitude. My pregnant sister-in-law also instantly softened her expression. "That's right, Donna is usually so busy with work, it's normal she can't take Mom, right, honey? And Mom, you're so old, why didn't you ask Harry to take you? How could you expect Donna to do it?" My mom froze, unable to believe what my sister-in-law had said. She was shaking with anger. "Freya, I was doing this for you and the grandchild in your belly." But my sister-in-law smiled at me, unusually affectionate. "Mom can be a bit short-tempered sometimes. I'm sorry, Donna, what would you like to eat? I'll make it for you right away." I watched this family and thought how hypocritical they were for money. When I went to the bathroom, I deliberately left my phone recording. Only after I returned did I find out that as soon as I left, my sister-in-law immediately changed her attitude. "Mom, you don't know, but I heard Donna got promoted again. She must be making at least $30,000 a month now, and her annual salary is probably in the millions. The way I acted earlier was all to get her money." My mother exclaimed in shock. "Wasn't she only making $12,000 a month, recently? She hasn't even been bringing money home often." "Mom, Donna is a top graduate from a 985 university, she must be earning a lot. We just need to trick all her money into our hands. Once she buys us a house and a car, we can sell her off for the bride price. We'll make a killing." My brother laughed when he heard this and said, "Mom, this bitch is really turning a lot, and she even dares to drink what I coaxed her with. When she runs out of money, I'll make sure to finish her off. Mom, you know that poorest guy we have, the one who needs 600,000 to get a wife, let's sell this bitch to him." Hearing this, my mom immediately laughed and said, "Good, very good, excellent, that little bitch deserves it. Son, you should drink more of this milk. I squeezed it myself today, it's very fresh, and make sure that ranch compensates us. After all this, they owe us at least $1 million or so." Harry hugged his sister-in-law and called over the ranch worker. "What exactly is going on here? My mother is in this state. Doesn't your ranch bear any responsibility? A broken bone takes 100 days to heal. Let me tell you. Do you believe we'll sue you or not?" My mother even played along, moaning dramatically. "That's right, they did it on purpose, refusing to give me milk. Oh my goodness." Unexpectedly, the staff member wasn't the least bit intimidated. Instead, they responded with a cold laugh. "Auntie, we have surveillance video. You trespassed onto our ranch without permission, and we already warned you, but you didn't listen to us at all. You even provoked our cows without authorization, and now you want us to pay you. At most, we'll cover your medical expenses. Nothing else is possible. Besides, Auntie, we checked you from head to toe as you requested, and there are no injuries." As soon as my mother heard this, she immediately started throwing a tantrum on the ground. "Oh, and we even bought a month's worth of milk from you." My brother, seeing that the staff member wouldn't budge no matter what, got so angry that he started hitting the staff member. The staff member immediately burst into tears and said, "Oh no, my head hurts, could it be a concussion? I'm calling the police, I'm calling the police." "Oh no, you're hitting me, that's illegal." "Oh no." This made my brother even more furious, and he wanted to continue hitting the staff member. The staff member immediately pretended to be accidentally pushed over by my brother. "Oh no, it hurts, my back. Wah wah wah, you're bullying me. This is a hospital. There are cameras everywhere. I'm calling the police." My mom was dumbfounded watching the staff's actions. This, aren't we supposed to be compensated? Why is she getting up again? You're shameless, daring to extort our family. Believe it or not, I'll deal with you. Unexpectedly, the staff directly called the police, and only then did my mom and brother get scared. By the time I leisurely made my way to the police station, my brother glared at me angrily. "Why are you so late? Don't you know we're at the police station?" I smiled at their whole family. "Well, who would have guessed? How did your entire family just randomly end up in the police station?" My sister-in-law clutched her stomach and said, "Donna, that person is so ruthless, demanding we compensate them. Mom's money, they have surveillance, so we can't get much. What should we do?" I feigned surprise. Oh my, how could they do this? What a shame. I had already planned to use the money to buy a house for you and my brother, and for your luxury postpartum care center. I don't have much left now, my sister-in-law immediately said. You've already booked a luxury confinement center for me. This, let me see. I smiled and handed my sister-in-law the pre-edited pictures on my phone. When she saw that it cost $100,000 a month, she immediately became excited. Oh my, this is a presidential suite. Donna, you're too good to your sister-in-law. My brother immediately looked at my mom and said with a smile, Mom, your monthly pension is already $4,000, so you must have saved up quite a bit. If you hadn't provoked the ranch staff, I wouldn't have stood up for you, and we wouldn't have ended up having to pay compensation. Hearing this, my mom looked pained. Son, it's not your fault, it's mine for being too impulsive. You were just looking out for me and standing up for me. I'll cover the compensation. It's just a few $1,000s, right? Watching my mother's pained expression, I felt utterly comfortable. When I got back home, the phone rang. Miss Donna, thank you for warning me about your brother and mother trying to scam us. Many thanks. I'll treat you to dinner tomorrow. I just smiled. It's okay. I just don't want my mom and brother to harm others. I've never seen such a disgusting old lady. We checked the surveillance footage and found out she had been coming to buy our milk every day. She only bought a small amount of regular milk, nowhere near as much as she claimed. Later, when we reviewed the footage, we discovered she had bribed the security guard to sneak in and steal milk, and it was the unpasteurized milk she was taking. I was stunned. Every time my mom went to buy milk, she insisted I wait outside. She would first purchase a small amount of regular milk, then immediately head into the dairy farm. I never imagined this was how she obtained the untreated milk. No wonder. How could such unpasteurized milk possibly be circulating now? I'm afraid my mother still feels smug about it, thinking she got a great deal by giving this milk to her daughter-in-law, hoping for a grandson. But that's probably impossible now. Sure enough, not long after, just as I was about to go home to check on them and see if they had developed brucellosis, I pushed open the door and saw my mother weakly calling out, Donna, come quick, something's wrong, something's wrong. How could I possibly ignore such a situation? I rushed home in a hurry and saw my sister-in-law covered in blood from the waist down, clutching her stomach and screaming in pain. My stomach, Mom, it hurts so bad. Husband, take me to the hospital. My brother was vomiting uncontrollably beside her, his body burning with fever, his face flushed and hot. Wife, I really don't have any strength left. My mother, lying on the ground, saw me and said, Donna, quick, we don't know what's wrong. We've had a fever and been vomiting for the past few days, and your sister-in-law is bleeding from her lower body. Seeing my mother and brother's weak state, it seemed like a brucellosis outbreak. My sister-in-law, clutching her stomach, looked at me. Donna, take me to the hospital quickly. I really can't hold on anymore. I feel like I'm about to lose my baby. But my mother stopped me. We can't call an ambulance. If the neighbors find out your sister-in-law is bleeding down there, they'll definitely mock me for not having a grandson. It turned out my sister-in-law had wanted to go to the hospital for a checkup these past few days, but my mother stubbornly prevented her. You don't understand, the hospital's examination equipment has so much radiation, it must be harmful to the baby. I bought some miscarriage prevention medicine. You should take it quickly. My sister-in-law had no choice but to take the medicine, but unexpectedly, her condition worsened, and she even started bleeding. My sister-in-law knelt before me, pleading, Donna, I beg you, they've taken my phone, please take me to the hospital. My brother tried to stop me, and my mother even yelled angrily, Donna, if you dare take your sister-in-law to the hospital, you won't be my daughter anymore. Looking at my sister-in-law's condition, I smiled and said, Sister-in-law, I'll give you my phone so you can call the police. I can't do it myself. After all, she's my mother. Otherwise, she wouldn't let you leave at all. When the police arrived, my mother was kicking and punching my sister-in-law, while my brother lay there half dead beside them. My sister-in-law was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Both my mother and brother passed out during the struggle. When my mother woke up, she learned that my sister-in-law had miscarried and lost the baby. All three of them were also diagnosed with brucellosis. My dear grandson, oh dear, woo-woo, I told you we shouldn't have sent him to the hospital, but you wouldn't listen. When my sister-in-law heard about her miscarriage, she directed all her anger at my mother. If it weren't for you stopping me from going to the hospital, how could my baby have miscarried? How could this happen? And what's this about brucellosis, Mom? These past few days I've only eaten the food you prepared. Upon hearing this, my mother shifted all the blame onto my sister-in-law. It's clearly your poor health. The radiation in this hospital is so severe. I told you not to come, and that miscarriage prevention medicine, have you been taking it properly? The doctor nearby couldn't take it anymore. We found a large amount of heavy metals in the so-called miscarriage prevention medicine the patient mentioned. It wasn't miscarriage prevention medicine at all. My brother was stunned upon hearing this. Mom, didn't you say this medicine cost you a lot of money to get? How come it contains heavy metals? It could kill someone if taken. Upon hearing this, my sister-in-law's face turned deathly pale. Doctor, check me quickly. I won't die, will I? The doctor sighed. First, you should be concerned about brucellosis. The main reason for your miscarriage is brucellosis. If not treated properly, this disease can be fatal. Brucellosis, how could we possibly have that? The doctor looked at them and said, brucellosis, also known as undulant fever, is an infectious allergic disease caused by brucella invading the body, affecting both humans and animals. Have you had any contact with cattle or sheep? My sister-in-law immediately caught on and looked at my mom. My mom used to milk cows. This couldn't be that, could it? Drinking unpasteurized milk or goat's milk can also cause it. At these words, my mom's eyes filled with disbelief. How is that possible? This sterilization process would destroy all the nutrients in the milk. I specifically bought the non-sterilized kind. My mother didn't believe it, still refused to believe it, but my sister-in-law went berserk and lunged at her. It's all your fault. My son is about to be born. Did you do this on purpose? Fine. My brother looked at my mother and, in a fit of rage, slapped her across the face. I always told you not to buy those cheap things, but you just couldn't resist a bargain. Now we've lost the child. I stood by with a worried expression and said, come on, brother, you shouldn't talk to mom like that. She only stole that unpasteurized milk from the farm to save money. My mother seemed to find some justification and immediately retorted, that's right. How much is your salary? Just $3,000 a month. If it weren't for me at home, you wouldn't even be able to afford meat every day. Hearing this, my brother's vision went black, and he fainted on the spot. Seeing my brother faint, my mother immediately looked heartbroken. My son, oh dear, he's my only son. Someone please help my son. My sister-in-law was so angry at the chaotic scene that she also fainted. I thought it served them right. I wondered how my brother would deal with our mother for the rest of his life, since it was our mother who had caused the death of their child. My mother looked at the two people in the emergency room, then at me standing nearby, and with an air of entitlement, she took out the payment slip. Donna, go and pay the bill now. I find it ridiculous. Why do I have to pay for someone else's illness? Mom, where would I get the money? All my savings went to my brother for his house, and we booked a luxury postpartum center for my sister-in-law. I probably only have $100 left on me. My mother sneered coldly. I don't care, you're my daughter, and he's your own brother. I don't have that kind of money. If you don't have it, go take out a loan. And your sister-in-law lost the baby. She even miscarried my grandson. That luxury postpartum center is useless now. Go cancel it. Day after day, all you do is waste money, and now you want to stay in some luxury postpartum center. Cancel it for me, Mom, no matter what you say. I don't have the money. Why should I take out a loan? Who do you think you are? Let me tell you, my sister-in-law's miscarriage is all your fault. Who told you to be so greedy for small advantages? You act like everyone owes you something. Get lost. I fired back without hesitation. Are you insane? Who the hell wants a mother like this? My mom froze, stunned by my counterattack. Furious, she tried to slap me but was immediately stopped. You still want to hit me? Haha, Zhang Guifang, are you out of your mind? I immediately struck back, watching her clutch her face in pain, yet I felt nothing but satisfaction. Since childhood, when has she ever cared for me, calling me a money-losing burden, saying I'd be like water spilled out when grown, even wanting to abandon me? My mother covered her face, cursing at me angrily. I'm cutting ties with you, and you dare to hit me, you little brat. Fine, you bastard. I turned around and walked away immediately. She tried to chase after me, but I said, security, come quick, this person is trying to skip out on paying and run away. With those words, I bolted. My mother was immediately pinned down by the arriving security guards, who angrily shouted at her, you're insane. You, back at home, I accepted the company's offer to work abroad for a year with a doubled monthly salary, immediately packed my things, and terminated the lease. Faced with these medical expenses, my mother gritted her teeth and took the money from her pension fund. Now she truly had nothing left. After my sister-in-law woke up, the first thing she did was divorce Harry. I really can't live with you anymore. Your mother killed my child. She literally killed my child, and now I have brucellosis too. How can I possibly stay with you? At first, my brother tried to persuade her to stay, but my mother didn't care at all. Son, a woman like her isn't worth keeping. Besides, if you can't handle a woman, just hit her. I don't believe she won't listen to you. Beat her into submission, and that'll be the end of it. My brother actually took it to heart. When my sister-in-law brought up divorce again, he grabbed a broom and hit her directly. Damn it, have I really been giving you too much face, yelling about divorce every single day? Divorce my ass. My sister-in-law screamed in pain and cursed at my brother. How dare you hit me? What gives you the right to hit me? Don't think I won't call the police. This word directly provoked my brother, and he hit even harder. Call the police. You dare to call the police? I'll beat you to death today. My mother stood by, watching my sister-in-law being beaten with a smile. Son, well done. Women, they deserve to be beaten. Otherwise they'd think they can do whatever they want. My sister-in-law was covered in wounds and trembling all over by the end, with my brother gripping her neck. Still want a divorce? She replied weakly. No, no, never again. My brother smiled at his wife, then turned to ask our mom for money. Mom, give me some money. I've recently taken a liking to a stock that's rumored to make a big turnaround. I want to buy some. Our mom looked worried. Oh, you don't know. Your sister hasn't been giving us money again lately. I don't know what's wrong with that little bitch. Last time she even dared to hit me at the hospital. I don't have much money on me either. Why don't you ask her? She said she was going to leave you money to buy a house. My brother immediately called me upon hearing this. Donna, could you give me the money you set aside for my brother to buy a house first? You don't really need that much money anyway. Also, refund me the money for the luxury postpartum care center. I'm about to make a fortune, listening to him on the phone. I realized my brother truly treated my money as his own. What are you saying, bro? You're still the same, really treating my money as yours? My brother said matter-of-factly. Of course, everything of yours is mine. Besides, when you get married in the future, the bride price will also go to me. I burst out laughing. Too bad, bro. It was all a lie, all fake. What can I do? I didn't give you any money. Even the postpartum care center was fake. Everything was fake. As soon as these words were spoken, my brother's hands trembled. It turned out that during these days, he had borrowed from loan sharks to invest in stocks, counting on me to give him the money. He couldn't believe it. How is this possible? No, no way. You must be lying to me. I smiled and said, I'm not lying, brother. It's all fake. As far as I know, you've borrowed from loan sharks, haven't you? What a pity. What are you going to do now? He roared into the phone in anger. Go to hell, you bitch. How dare you lie to me? Fine, if I find you, believe me, I'll kill you. But I just hung up the phone and comfortably enjoyed my exotic experience. Harry, having been hung up on by me, was so furious he smashed his phone. Damn it, you still dare to lie to me? I'm gonna fucking kill you right now. He grabbed a knife and rushed straight to the place where I rented, slashing at the door. Before long, the police subdued him, and he started cursing wildly. What's the big deal if I want to slash? Believe it or not, I'll fucking kill you all. The next second, he was electrocuted and passed out. My mom rushed over to pay the money and take my brother home, and only then did my brother tell her, Mom, it's over, I'm in debt, over $500,000, what should I do? Hearing this, my mom fainted on the spot. I received a call from my mom, who was crying on the other end. Donna, what should I do? Your brother owes so much money. What am I supposed to do? We've already sold the house, and it's still not enough to pay it all off. I've used up all my pension to help your brother repay the debt. We're family. Tell me, what should we do? I laughed and said, well, Mom, what do you think you should do? Tell me, I'm listening. My mom thought there was hope and immediately said, send us some money. Not much, just 500,000. After all, we're family. What's yours is ours. Mom, that's hilarious. Since when is my money yours? If you want money, let my brother die first. I'll pay for his funeral, but not a cent more. I hung up the phone right away, leaving my mom clutching her chest in anger. In the end, it was my mom who borrowed money from everywhere to barely pay off my brother's loan shark debt. After that, my brother became extremely irritable, idle all day, and even abused my sister-in-law. Sometimes, he would hit my mom if she said a few words to him. Another time, My sister-in-law was beaten by my brother until she was covered in blood. She cried and begged for mercy. Please, Harry, I was wrong, stop hitting me. My brother kicked her directly. You damn bitch, barely making any money all day. How come you still haven't gotten pregnant after all these months? My sister-in-law couldn't take it anymore, grabbed a nearby liquor bottle and threw it while screaming, "Go to hell, you fucking bastard." The next second, my brother's head was covered in blood, and my sister-in-law went berserk, smashing at him until he was a bloody mess. My mother wanted to come out to save her son but couldn't move. After contracting brucellosis, her health deteriorated, and she even had to take medication with every meal. In the end, my sister-in-law grabbed the family's valuables and ran away. By the time the ambulance arrived, my brother had lost a lot of blood and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. He survived but was left paralyzed for life. My mother cried and begged everywhere for money, but no one was willing to lend her any, so she started collecting garbage. At first, my brother thought he was a useless person, constantly talking about wanting to die. My mother initially took care of him, but later she couldn't bear it anymore and ran away too. In the end, my brother starved to death in the rental house. My mother ended up homeless on the streets. After I returned, she found me and said, "I don't care, I'm your mother, you have to support me. It's the law." I smiled at her disheveled state. "Mom, you are my birth mother after all. Of course, I'll support you." The next second, I turned around and sent her to the cheapest nursing home. After all, back then, she sent me to the most grueling factory, indifferent to whether I lived or died. Even when those supervisors bullied me, she thought it was no big deal. Well, this time, why don't you give it a try? As for my sister-in-law, she was eventually wanted by the authorities and was caught working as a hostess in a KTV. Upon hearing this news, as the only remaining family member, I chose to hire the best lawyer to appeal and request a life sentence. After all, in my previous life, before my brother killed me, she repeatedly slashed my skin with broken glass and beat my stomach with an iron rod, screaming, "You killed my son, I'm going to kill you." This time, I watched as she cried and knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Upon hearing the life sentence, "Donna, I was wrong, please, I'm a woman too, please." But I turned and walked away. It was finally all over. After the rain, the sky always clears. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.